the session soon. So please, for
Recording
you
in progress.
are still on site, please come to the room to Arjuna 1 since we'd like to start the abstract session as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, good morning everyone. How is everyone feeling today? I hope you had a good rest last night and are eager to get started today. Welcome back to the International Symposium of Wildlife, Biodiversity and Conservation of 2023. We begin today with an abstract presentation session bringing the theme Protection of Indigenous Knowledge and Social Cultural Safeguard. Afif and I are going to help guide this session, but before we start, we would like to acknowledge and express our gratitude to the organizations and sponsors that have made this event possible. Let us recognize
The first one is Faculty of Forestry at Universitas Gadjah Mada.
Second is Ministry of Environment and Forestry.
With the sponsor, the first one is April Group.
Global Environment Facility in partnership with United Nations Development Programme and Combating Illegal Wildlife Trade.
Peat and Mangrove Restoration Agency of the Republic of Indonesia.
Borneo Nature Foundation.
Taprobanika, the Journal of ASEAN Biodiversity.
Flora and Fauna International.
Copenhagen Zoo.
Kaleka.
Action Conservation Foundation.
And Persona Indonesia Tours.
We are deeply grateful for their commitment to advancing our shared mission of conserving and protecting the incredible wealth of biodiversity our planet possesses. Now we are going to enter the abstract presentation, but then the differences with the previous one. The chairperson is us. So there's no special chairperson here, and we would like to assist the abstract presentation of today. And let's start begin since like Indonesian punctuality, and this time is 8:23, and we have around 9 presenter here. The first one starting from Insinyur Arief Mahmud, Magister of Science. Are you here, Pa Arief? Or
Yes, I'm ready.
join
Can you
through
hear
the
my voice?
Zoom? Hello, Pa Arief?
Yes,
Okay.
hello. Good morning.
Do
Can
you
you hear
hear
my
me?
voice?
Okay. Yes, your voice is audible, Pa Mahmud. But before I'm going to introduce the title of Pak Mahmud abstract, Pak Mahmud will be delivered regarding estimating of komodo population and local wisdom of baar tribe community in Riung, Ngada regency. Okay, Pak Mahmud, would you present by yourself or do you need a help from operator to present your presentation?
I will present through my computer.
All right then. So please, Pak Mahmud, the time is around 15 minutes, but then I recommend you to present for 10 minutes and we could have a discussion for around 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, your presentation is appearing. So please, Pak Mahmud, time and screen are yours.
Thank you, Master Ceremony. So I will start my presentation. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the conference committee for the opportunity to present our manuscript with the title of Estimating of Komodo Population and Local Wisdom of Baar Tribe Community in Riung ngada regency is Nusa Tenggara. This presentation is part of my ST degree dissertation that I took in IPB University under guidance of Dr. Mirza Dikari Kusrini, Professor Ani Mardiastuti, and Professor Lili Budi Prasetyo. Introduction. Flores komodo dragon are spread inside and outside conservation forests in the western, southwestern, and northern coastal area of Flores Island. The species is included in protected animal based on Minister of Environment and Forestry Regulation number 106 year 2018 and the endangered category according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature. Komodo dragon on Flores Island face threats such as habitat fragmentation, anthropogenic threat, and global warming, which have an impact on rising sea level, reducing some of the Komodo dragon habitat on Flores Island. Komodo dragon conservation need also participation of local community who have wisdom in managing their environment. Research and method. This research was conducted from January to July 2022 at Torong Padang Cape and Wolotado Nature Reserve, Ngada Regency is Nusa Tenggara. To calculate the komodo population, we approach at occupancy using camera tap, which also had bite with goat meat. And for prey abundance, we're using pellet count and transect method for ungulate prey population. And we also take the community perception using interview and questionnaire for 60 people in Torong Padang Cape and 58 people in Wolotado Nature Reserve for 21 question. And we use the Likert scale to calculate the community perception. This is the site of research in the Flores Island, especially in the north part of Flores. And there is a place we call Torong Padang Cape, close to the Wolotado Nature Reserve. The Torong Padang Cape is outside of the conservation forest, while Wolotado is a nature reserve. Result and discussion. The number of camera trap can be installed according to the condition of the Komodo habitat fillet, and the length of day for placing camera trap was adjusted to the size of the habitat, so that the in the Wolotado Nature Reserve area that have 4,016 hectare, we longer than in Torong Padang Cape that has 879,700 hectare. And the Komodo dragon, the number of Komodo dragon found directly using camera trap in Torong Padang Cape area is higher than Wolotado Nature Reserve, which can be concluded that the Komodo population in Torong Padang Cape is better. To estimate the proportion of the area in Torong Padang Cape during was 44.49%, while in Wolotado Nature Reserve it was 36.08%, which proves that the density of Komodo dragon in Torong Padang Cape was better. Based on our calculation that in Torong Padang Cape, around 26 individual per 879 97 hectare, or around one individual for 33 hectare. While in Wolotado Nature Reserve, we found that there are 23 individual for 4,016 hectare, or around one individual for 175.4 hectares. We also calculate the number of prey animal for the komodo using the pellet count. In Torong Padang Cape area, we found that there are 57 pellet per hectare for Timor deer, and around 185 pellet per hectare for wild boar, and 422 pellet per hectare for cattle. And in Wolotado Nature Reserve, we only found the pellet of buffalo with the density around 57.2 pellet per hectare. This proves that the density, the diversity, of the large mammal, prey, and habitat condition in Torong Padang Cape are better than in Wolotado Nature Reserve. For the perception of community about the komodo, we give around 21 question for the people of Torong Padang and Wolotado. I want to show 4 of them. And the question we deliver to the people is, do you feel objection or fear or worry about the existence of komodo dragon in the area around the resident? We found that most of people in the Torong Padang not worry of komodo dragon comparing to the people in Wolotado Nature Reserve. The other question, we deliver what is your impression of the existence of komodo dragon around the area where you live? And most people in Torong Padang are familiar with the dragon comparing to the Wolotado Nature Reserve. Another question, do you believe that komodo dragon are the ancestor of the people who live in this area? The most people in Torong Padang believe that the komodo dragon is their ancestor. They found that around 60% of Torong Padang people is believe about the komodo is their ancestor. And the other question, are you willing to be volunteer for komodo dragon conservation? Most people in Torong Padang, around 86%, are willing to be volunteer to conserve komodo dragon, comparing to the Wolotado Nature Reserve, only 23%. So, local wisdom of Baar tribe community in Riung, we found that communities in Torong Padang Cape have better perception that is a good, with the score about 73.85 compared to Wolotado Nature Reserve, who have fair perception with the score 67.97. Regarding the opinion for eating komodo dragon meat, the majority state that they had never seen anyone eating dragon meat at all. All the komodo, all the community does not believe the komodo dragon is their ancestor, and only the people in Torong Padang Cape still perform traditional ritual related to the dragon. Community in Torong Padang have a better impression or feeling toward komodo dragon because they have experience meeting the komodo directly, so they don't feel worried about the existence of a komodo dragon. And the community want to protect the komodo dragon and does not want any regulation of people hunting the komodo dragon, even though they feel the komodo dragon is pest that hunt their livestock. And the people in Wolotado Nature Reserve are worried that the komodo dragon will attack and want to the komodo dragon to be translocated away from their surrounding the environment.
3 minutes left, Pak Arief.
Okay. And I think the conclusion of this research, the population of komodo dragon and their prey animal at Terong Padang Cave is better than Wolotado Nature Reserve. It could be influenced by the local wisdom of the community in managing Terong Padang Cave as a forbidden land. And the Terong Padang Cave area is only intended for customary hunting, which is carried out once every 2 years. That before the hunting for once a year. This local wisdom caused the community have a better perception of komodo conservation compared to the community around Wolotado Nature Reserve. Thank you. I think that's all my presentation.
All right, Pak Arief, I thank you so much for your nice presentation. Give the applause to Pak Arief, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to hear your presentation since, yeah, it's kind of interesting. We know that Flores Komodo dragon needs a participation as well from the local communities. Thank you for the new insight, Pak Arief. But then I believe from you, ladies and gentlemen, there are a number of questions on your mind. So please, if you have any question, I open for one only question. Please, from the online or in-person participation, if you have any question, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. There is one question, Pak Arief, from in-person participants.
Yep. Selamat pagi, Pak Arief. Nice presentation. So I have a question about the nature reserve. Like the population of komodo and also the prey population is lower in that area. I'm just wondering, like, why that's happened. Because I assume that protected area would have higher population of the wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So actually in the Flores Island, there are some conservation forests. So at least there are 4 conservation forests in Flores Island. The first is Wolotado Nature Reserve, Riung 17 Island, and also Webuul and Riung Nature Reserve. So Wolotado Nature Reserve as a habitat of komodo relatively close to the community, and the other hand is most of the local people hunt. They have a traditional hunting in every year. So it means that the komodo will compete with the local people for prey the animal. And besides that, in Torong Padang, they have they have a traditional wisdom to protect not only the komodo, also the prey. So I think this is a good sample for us that local wisdom has also have an important role to protect the wildlife. Yeah, and we still have communicate with the local people and around the nature reserve. We hope that they also can see the traditional wisdom that in Torong Padang community. Is it answer the question?
Yes, thank you, Pak.
I thank you, Pak Arief, but sadly our time is left and over. So again and again, thank you, Pak Arief, for your nice presentation. And we would like to next to the other presentation. But before, please give your hand to Pak Arief. All right, and I give my time to my partner.
Okay, thank you, Afif. For the next presentation, we have Dr. Yeni W Ratnaningrum. I believe she is in the room with us. Okay, please. Yes, time is yours. Her abstract title is The Effect of Mating System on the Reproductive Ability of Endangered Sandalwood under Different population structures and genetic diversity in Indonesia. Okay, Dr. Yeni, the time is yours.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I am very happy to meet you again. Today I will present the results of our study in the effects of mating systems, which refers to outcrossing rate, selfing rate, and breeding depression on the reproductive ability of endangered sandalwood under different population structures and genetic diversity in Indonesia. This is the work, a big work actually, which is conducted by our team in the Tree Improvement Laboratory in the Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Next, please.
Next, please.
Okay. For the introduction, we have the importance of sandalwood, since this is the native of the eastern parts of Indonesia. So actually, sandalwood in Nusa Tenggara Timur is origin of all sandalwood exists in the world. So it's so sad because this population is already decrease rapidly. So the local status is now extinct in the wild. Considering this, the existence of the new landrace occur in the Gunung Sewu Geopark in Java Island sounds promising for the rehabilitation efforts. But Gunung Sewu itself undergo its own problems, since Gunung Sewu derive from the many landscapes, and this is remote landscapes. Back into the past, from the evolutionary history, many centuries ago, Gunung Sewu derived from the up and down formations of which involves many volcanic and tectonic movements, which forms the landscape of Gunung Sewu recently. So the differences in the landscapes and environmental gradients resulted into the different genetic process of the sandalwood ranges inside. So next, please. Okay. Up until today, our team have observed 24 population and land races of sandalwood. We can see here the left one, the up left one is what we have in the Java Island in Gunung Sewu. What I would like to show you here is that different color shows a different zone of Gunung Sewu. In the yellow ones, yellow in the upper ones, there are the alluvium mountains. We have two land races over there, and in the orange in the below ones, also in the alluvium mountains with in the, different zones. In the middle, we have the green one is in the valleys. Basins. Basins which now consisted of rivers and the waterfalls. And the blue one is the southern zones, which are now derive into the hilly karst and the caves. The other population are existed now in very limited population size in Sumba and in the Timor Islands. Okay, next. So based into our preliminary research, we derive 4 hypotheses. The first is the population we propose that the population structures and genetic diversity affect the mating system, and the second, the flowering and pollination may affect mating systems, and therefore more flowers will gain more pollinators and higher outcrossing rates. And the third hypothesis, sandalwood is naturally outbreeder, and therefore which has less ability to cope with inbreeding depression. But however, as a result of selection, which conform to the reproductive assonance theory, and so the small, isolated, or degraded fragmented population will be more inbreeder. So the mating system will be converted, altered into the inbreeding. And the fourth hypothesis, mating systems will affect the reproductive ability. So to confirm this hypothesis, we arrange the research objectives. Next, please. This study estimate mating systems of 16 sandalwood populations and landraces differed by population structures on the landscapes and environmental gradients, and the parental heterozygosity in Gunung Sewu, Timor, and Sumba. Gunung Sewu is Java Island, yeah, and Timor and Sumba Islands, and how it affects the reproductive abilities. Okay, next, please. Yeah, this is our study sites from Java, Sumba, and Timor Islands, some of them. Okay, and next. Next, please. Yeah. To confirm the hypothesis, we run several methods, procedures. First is the assessment by, not appearing. We assess, I think we missed the previous slides. Okay. First, we measure the population structures, the clonality of parents, and the offspring recruitments on the seedlings we found in nature. And second, next, we assess the reproductive outputs by the hand pollination to arrange the selfing, crossing, and natural pollination. And we also conduct the isocyme-based mating system assessment. Okay, next. We also observe the flowering traits and the pollinator visitation. And after that, we conduct this statistical analysis by the multiple regression methods. Okay, next. And what we got, yeah, it's quite complicated here, so I will jump into the recap in the next slides. Okay, you can just enter, and then move into the next slides. Okay, next. Yes. From these tables, we can conclude that the population structures highly varied among sites, so among the population and land races, but similar between seasons. And the population size was strongly correlated to the population density. And this is the most important thing here in the last conclusion. The degree of parental clonality strongly affect the clonality of the offsprings. Clonality means when the parent in the population derive from the same genotypes, because they are derived from the vegetative propagation. So, and this colonialized condition was strongly influenced by the landscape conditions. So in the thinner solum and the high slopes will resulted into the formation of root suckers, and when these root suckers grow up to be the mature plants and then conduct the mating will be inbreeding. Okay, next. So from the assessment on genetic diversity, we found that the more isolated colonized fragmented population has a lower heterozygosity, higher fixation index, which means more inbreeding, and undergo more missing alleles, so they lose more alleles. The lower diversity and more inbreeding populations has, so for the consequences, has lower diversity of seedlings, of the offsprings. But in Gunung Sewu landraces, surprisingly, we found the higher heterozygosity and lower fixation index, means and the parents are more outbreeding, more crossing. In Sumba and Timor population, which has degraded rapidly, they have the lower heterozygosity and more inbreeding. So we have the important findings here that the genetic diversity and the mating systems is not affected by the number of flowering trees. So the parents, the flowering trees can be many, but the mating not always crossing. So the mating system more dependent on the genetic diversity of the parents. Okay, next. Yeah. The another complicated tables. I only want to show you that in the yellow one we can see that the population with having high heterozygosity will have the low fish or outbreeder, and highly outcrossing, low selfing, and but have high inbreeding depression, because it's natural to be the outcrossers. In contrast, the orange one, the population with have low heterozygosity will be more inbreeder, low outcrossing, high selfing, but they can cope with the inbreeding depression. Okay, next.
1 minute left.
Okay, maybe yeah. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, next. Yeah. Mating system in sandalwood. Actually, mating system is not correlated to population size and flowering traits. So the effect of population size, flowering, and pollination to mating systems varied with the extent of which parent trees are constructed, and the parent trees determined by the degree of parental clonality and the genetic composition of parents. Okay, next. I think I will jump to the general conclusions. Okay, yeah. Our final conclusions answers our hypothesis. So most of the result confirmed on the first hypothesis, that both genetic base and clonality strongly affect mating system, and the results also show, but results show strong departure from the second hypothesis. None of the mating systems were correlated to the flowering characters. Some population might produce more flowers and therefore visited by more pollinators, but however, it did not guarantee the higher outcrossing. Most of our results confirm the third hypothesis in breeding depression occur at various stages of development. And some of the results also confirm the last hypothesis. None of mating system parameters affect seed set and viability, but they significantly affect the seedling survival. So I think I will move to the last slides. Okay, this one. Yeah. Okay. So I recommend several actions, which includes the maintaining evolutionary and genetical processes within each population with different strategy according to the genetic base and the population size. And to enhance genetic base, we have to conduct the genetic infusion with genetically diverse and highly outcrossers sources. To restore population size, we have to recruit local highly outcrosser sources. And to support regeneration, we have to facilitate in the natural seedling recruitments in the nature. To facilitate the natural outcrossing, we have to invite more pollinators to increase the pollination activities. And the high diversity and highly outcrossed populations will be converted into the in-situ conservation and genetic resources. And for the colonialized and the small populations, we will arrange the in-situ conservation programs with genetic infusion also. And we have to also establish new plantations and facilitate gene flow and seed dispersals. I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you, Yeni. I think we have room for one question, either from the online participants or the participants in the room. Does anyone have questions regarding the sandalwood mating systems? Okay, if no one has any questions, we will jump straight to the third presentation session.
All right. Thank you, Sabila, for your assistance. And we are going to move to the third speaker, which is Riri Wiyanti Ratnaningrum, Bachelor of Science, Magister of Science. Please have a seat here. And she would like to present about COVID-19 pandemic-driven impact on citizen science participation, a case study involving Indonesia data. Please use your pointer, okay? So then your time is 15 minutes, but you could manage yourself. So we could hold a discussion later on after your presentation. Thank you. Time and screen are yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Well, we are here representing one of the first citizen science movement in Indonesia, Indonesia. And today, my name is Riri, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Indonesia on our report on how COVID-19 impacts our citizen science movement based on our data. So, gimana ya, Mas? Does it work? Like this one? This is only the pointer. Can you move the slide? I cannot move the slide. Does it work? Okay. Okay. Next, please. So to give this talk a context is that we all understand what happened circa 2020 all the way to 2022. Like, we were in the middle or even we were at the peak of COVID-19 by by July 2021, and then again by the early 2022. And these severe stochastic events, I would say, imposes a huge change in our daily life, in our economy as well. World Health Organization declared it as a global pandemic in March 2020. And in response to that, governments and public health organizations all across the world mandated physical distancing and travel restrictions, like worldwide travel restrictions. Consequently, human activities have been restricted depending on the levels of infections in the respective countries. And then what happened next is that something that we call, that some experts call as the anthropos, where all the activities of all human activities across the world came to a halt, and resulting in a huge change in our environment, both in natural or in urban areas. Some people say that anthropos benefit wildlife. And as you see in the screen, there's some wildlife reclaiming the urban areas, like nature take the urban areas back. Like this, some ghosts in the cities, and this is what happened in Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas, where a baby black bear with the mother was seen walking across the city all the way to behind my house back then. And then this is epic. Like, all these troops are conquering the city. And all this happened across the world. This is such a good news for conservationists. However, the other side of the coin showed some ironies, such as the cleaner environments did not always stop or even elevate the extinction risk of some native species, because it all related to the socioeconomic impact of COVID-19 itself. I'm sorry. So the mobility restrictions across the world hurt the economy, especially for the countries especially in the developing countries such as Indonesia. Wildlife poaching has been reported to increase in some protected areas, following the closure of all tourist destinations, especially in national parks or other protected areas. However, the magnitude or the impacts of the pandemic on conservation in Indonesia remains unclear. There has been reports, but we don't know how big the impact is. Therefore, metrics are needed to understand the pandemic's impact on conservation efforts, particularly to wildlife monitoring done by citizen science participation. As we all know, that citizen science involves public participation, which gather in public areas. Therefore, the massive restrictions on public mobility influence their participations. And assessing how lockdowns affect observations is crucial to correctly utilize and interpret such data, or the data resulted from these participations. Because travel restrictions could pose a new problem, especially for studies that need data, like large-scale data, both spatial or temporal data, to assess anthropogenic threats, to assess species distributions, changes over time, or other temporal trends, such as migration. Therefore, it hinders the also, this restriction to our citizen science projects, it can hinder the possibility of the new findings or new records of new species by our users in general. As a brief introduction again, to give context again, Burungnesia, however, offers a hope. Like we are one of the pioneer in citizen science movement in Indonesia, and we follow the trend of the world. Like when COVID happens, everything moved online, including citizen science participation. Therefore, we still have hopes because phone and smartphones and all technology increasingly advance in a very short time, circa 2020 to 2021. And citizen science platform in response become popular even after the pandemic. And Burungnesia allowed birdwatchers to submit georeference checklists for us for like from online platform like into our database. Burungnesia allow people to submit their checklists online, and therefore they still abide to the rules while still participating in citizen science projects. This is our visualization of our users' travels, or like how far they travel before the pandemic. This is the data from 2016 all the way to 2020. 2021. So we have covered, our users have covered approximately 1 million kilometers across the nation, as you see here. And with the most cities, like the city with the most activities happens in Yogyakarta. But then East Java followed after and become the province with the most bird watchers. We call it the province who is crazy about birds. However, the pandemic effects on citizen science are still unclear. Even though we have the records, it doesn't really describe what happened. Understanding the pandemic effects on it is crucial as well, especially for utilizing citizen science data to address impacts of stochastic events on biodiversity. Like this large-scale data offered by citizen science project can be used to measure how stochastic events such as the pandemic affect biodiversity. Therefore, our study aims to assess the impact of the pandemic-related restrictions on citizen science activities based on Burungnesia data. We also aim to compare the distance covered by Burungnesia users before, during, and after the pandemic, the number of checklist users and species, as well as to observe which species are dominant in some cities most affected by the pandemic.
3 minutes left.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Of course, we will source our data from Burungnesia. And as I mentioned before, the parameters include the number of checklists, the number of users, and number of species. And here's our results. Basically, there is no significant impact on the activity itself, because we see it here that during the pandemic, compared to before the pandemic, our checklist number increases, our species increases. That means people are still actively submitting the checklist to us. However, the distance changes because of the restrictions. And then we visualize it how it impacts. This is before the pandemic. You see here. And this is during the pandemic, less lines. And for after the pandemic, we cannot really, wait. Like this is the post-pandemic era, like a fewer lines are observed compared to this, especially this one. So here we see the impact of the mobility restrictions. And we also performed the paired t-test to examine how different they are. And we found out that each periods are different from one another, significantly different from one another. That means COVID did impact our activity, our user activity, sorry. As we see here, this is the before the pandemic, the number of users and checklists coexist, like they are parallel, they're almost following the same patterns. However, during COVID, there is we highlight several changes here, several shifts here, where there's times where number of checklists increases, but number of users was stagnant, or vice versa, or even like there's low species number, but higher checklists. That reflects the impact of mobility restrictions. We also visualize so we use kernel density to visualize the frequency or how many checklists submitted, which areas have the most checklists. This is data, Indonesia data during COVID-19, like concentrated in here and here. Wait, this is post-COVID, more spread out. This one is during COVID. Sorry, this one is before COVID because we were still growing. And then this one is concentrated highly in urban areas. And this is the post-COVID. So we took the most impacted cities such as Jabodetabek, Malang, and Yogyakarta as an example. We would like to see which area have the most points. Points represents checklists submitted. And we see here, during the COVID-19, people, like while pre-COVID, all the points are more spread out than ever, compared to the one in the middle. Like these are concentrated in urban areas such as IPB and Bekasi, and post-COVID, the points are spread out again. And this is what happens in Yogyakarta as well. More spread out, more concentrated, and then go back spreading out. What happens in Malang is more stable. However, it's like the same pattern still appears in Malang as well. To check whether our theory, whether when the movement is restricted, people move urban, we need to see which species are the most dominant, right? And this is what we found. COVID era is dominated by urban species, such as sooty-headed bulbul, Cape swiftlet, and house sparrow, Eurasian tree sparrow. And then in Yogyakarta, corresponding to the lowland as well. And we also find one Javan pond heron. And this
Times is up, Mrs. Riri.
Oh, sorry. So can I conclude it at least?
Sure.
So, what we can conclude from this study is that people coped with the pandemic by birding in the surrounding areas within their home vicinity. And we also found new birding spots were found, and particularly in urban areas, because people are more like, they want to explore the urban areas than before. And due to limited mobility, the species recorded by users were mostly urban species, resulting in low recorded species diversity. However, we do not yet have the complete data for the post-pandemic period as it is ongoing participation in citizen science. And we did not include users' motivation in our measurements because we need like duration. Meanwhile, the duration data were only incorporated in our database circa 2021. So overall, Indonesia youth activities were slightly impacted by pandemic-related restrictions. The pandemic restriction also impacted the distance covered by Indonesia users. And the number of checklist users and species even increased during the pandemic compared to the period before and after the pandemic. The dominant species recorded during the pandemic mostly are urban species such as hooded bulbul, Cape swisslet, and Eurasian tree sparrows. We would like to thank Burung Indonesia and and Birdbacker Indonesia for the great and tremendous support for citizens and also our users. Without the users, we would not even be able to present this to you all. Thank you very much.
I thank you, Mrs. Riri, for your nice presentation. Maybe give the applause to Mrs. Riri since COVID-19 is indeed affected to the species movement bird, right? But then sadly, we couldn't have a question and answer session or discussion session because time is up. Yet, if you have any question, because I believe this research is very, very interesting, you could ask directly to Ms. Riri through the Zoom chat or behind the screen after this. Okay, so move to the next session to Sabila.
Okay, for the fourth presenter, we have Banun Nugraha. It's in the room. Please step up. The abstract title is Genetic and Environmental Factors Determining the Reproductive Ability of Sandalwood in Imogiri, the oldest landrace in Gunung Sewu in 2022 flowering period. Okay, Banun, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
I will start my presentation in Indonesia. Sebelumnya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, saya Banun Nugraha sebagai mahasiswa kehutanan dari Universitas Gadjah Mada. Saya mewakili tim saya untuk mempresentasikan penelitian saya dengan judul Genetic Environmental Factors Determining the Reproductive Ability of Sandalwood in Imogiri, the oldest landrace in Gunung Sewu in 2022 flowering period. Lalu apa yang melatar belakangi kami untuk melakukan penelitian ini? Jadi cendana ini termasuk menurut IUCN termasuk ke dalam salah satu spesies tumbuhan yang masuk ke dalam tingkat vulnerable atau rentan, di mana cendana ini memiliki tingkat resiko kepunahan sebesar 10% dalam waktu 100 tahun. Namun nyatanya, cendana yang tumbuh di habitat alaminya, yaitu di Indonesia bagian tenggara, mengalami penurunan jumlah yang sangat banyak, yaitu sebesar lebih dari 90%, dan diikuti dengan penurunan keragaman genetik. Lalu cendana yang tumbuh di ras lahan zona barat Gunung Sewu, di mana salah satunya yaitu ada di Imogiri, memiliki karakter yang sangat penting karena memiliki keanekaragaman genetik yang sangat tinggi dan juga sebagai cendana tertua di Gunung Sewu bahkan di Pulau Jawa. Untuk keanekaragaman genetik yang tinggi ini saya dasarkan pada penelitian yang menyebutkan bahwa rata HO-nya itu sebesar 0,542. Karena hal tersebut, cendana yang tumbuh di ras lahan Imogiri ini bisa dijadikan sebagai sumber genetik untuk kegiatan rehabilitasi dan juga reintroduksi. Lalu, namun adanya permasalahan yang sangat krusial, yaitu adanya permudahan alam generatif yang sangat sedikit. Diketahui dari lokasinya, ras lahan Imogiri ini berada di pegunungan aluvium dengan landscape berupa tebing dan juga jurang. Ada yang diduga karena permudahan alam ini sedikit karena adanya 3 hal. Yang pertama karena adanya hambatan aliran genetik, di mana adanya landscape berupa jurang dan juga tebing ini membuat transfer pollen dan juga penyebaran biji menjadi terhambat. Kemudian yang kedua ada keterbatasan seedbed, di mana seedbed ini sebagai media untuk pertumbuhan dan perkembangan tumbuhan, especially cendana, dan juga apabila keterbatasan ini terus berlanjut maka akan menghambat pertumbuhan cendana, yang mana cendana ini juga membutuhkan inang berupa contohnya cabai dan juga krokot. Kemudian yang ketiga ada keterbatasan pohon yang berbunga. Keterbatasan pohon yang berbunga ini akan menyebabkan adanya asinkroni pembungaan yang nantinya tidak dapat menghasilkan sebuah biji yang digunakan untuk permudahan alam. Untuk tujuan yang saya gunakan di sini yaitu untuk mengetahui pengaruh pada faktor genetik dan juga lingkungan terhadap kemampuan reproduksi pada cendana di Raslahan Imogiri. Kemudian untuk lokasinya yaitu ada di Raslahan Imogiri di Kabupaten Bantul, dibagi menjadi 5 lokasi penelitian, yaitu ada di Karangtengah, kemudian ada di Bukit Mojo, ada di Bukit Pangukediwung, kemudian ada di Desa Gumelem dan juga ada di Bukit Mangunan. Untuk kerangka kerjanya, pertama kami melakukan pengamatan terhadap kondisi lingkungan mikro dan juga makro, dan setelah itu kami melakukan pengambilan sampel tanah di setiap lokasinya, yang nantinya sampel tanah ini kami gunakan untuk dilakukan analisis sifat tanah berupa sifat fisika dan kimia sebagai data penunjang. Kemudian di samping itu juga kami melakukan inventarisasi pada pohon cendana yang berbunga, kemudian inventarisasi juga pada semai cendana dan biji cendana. Kemudian setelah itu kami melakukan pemanenan pada semai cendana dan juga melakukan pengkoleksian pada biji cendana, yang nantinya biji cendana ini kita kecambahkan di lokasi persemaian untuk mengetahui nilai viabilitasnya. Setelah itu kita melakukan analisis data. Untuk analisis data kami menggunakan model stepwise analysis pada regresi 2 arah, yang mana dari stepwise analysis ini bekerja dengan cara menyeleksi setiap variabel yang variabelnya nanti hanya masuk pada hanya variabel-variabel yang memiliki pengaruh besar dan bisa mewakili variabel lain yang tidak terseleksi. Untuk nanti bisa mendapatkan model yang terbaik untuk penelitian ini. Untuk parameternya kami bagi menjadi 2, yaitu ada variabel tetapnya berupa jumlah semai permudahan alam generatif, dan untuk variabel bebasnya yaitu adalah intensitas cahaya, kemudian suhu udara, kemudian kelembapan udara, keasaman tanah, kedalaman tanah, kemiringan tanah, dan juga ketebalan serasa. Untuk hasilnya, setelah kami melakukan sensus pada pohon induk di setiap lokasi ini, diketahui bahwa Gumelem ini memiliki pohon induk yang paling banyak dibandingkan dengan lokasi yang lain, yaitu sebanyak 22 pohon. Dan untuk lokasi dengan pohon induk paling sedikit itu ada di Karangtengah dengan 10 pohon saja. Kemudian untuk semai anakan alam yang kami temukan, ternyata paling banyak ada di Karangtengah. Di Karangtengah dengan jumlah semai sebanyak 157 semai, dan ternyata yang paling sedikit itu ada di Mangunan dengan 2 semai saja yang kami temukan. Kemudian untuk biji yang kami temukan ternyata juga paling banyak ada di Karangtengah dengan biji yang kami temukan sebanyak 50 biji, dan setelah itu kami kecambahkan di persemaian yang hasilnya adalah 25 biji mampu berkecambah. Dan ini merupakan jumlah yang paling banyak dibandingkan dengan lokasi yang lain. Dan ternyata di lokasi Gumelem dan juga Mangunan ini tidak kami temukan biji. Dari biji dan juga semai ini terlihat berbanding terbalik dengan pohon induk yang kami temukan di setiap lokasinya. Setelah itu kami lakukan uji analisis viabilitas, dan ternyata hasilnya adalah Mojo memiliki viabilitas paling tinggi yaitu sebesar 53%, dan memiliki selisih yang sedikit dengan lokasi Karangtengah sebesar 52%. Untuk selanjutnya kami melakukan regresi pada setiap variabelnya. Pertama, pada intensitas cahaya ini kami melakukan pengamatan dan menghasilkan bahwa bangunan ini memiliki intensitas cahaya paling tinggi dibandingkan dengan lokasi yang lain sebesar 13.203,33 lux yang semainya ternyata malah paling sedikit dibandingkan dengan lokasi yang lain. Dari hasil regresinya dihasilkan bahwa intensitas cahaya ini memiliki korelasi yang rendah terhadap permukaan alam cendana dan hanya berpengaruh sebesar 21,2% dan pengaruhnya tidak nyata. Kemudian untuk suhu udara ini ternyata paling tinggi ada di Kedewung sebesar 34,90 derajat Celcius dan untuk semainya itu yang kami temukan ternyata termasuk yang sedikit dibandingkan dengan lokasi yang lain. Untuk hasil regresinya ternyata suhu udara ini memiliki korelasi yang sedang terhadap permukaan alam cendana dan memiliki pengaruh sebesar 22,8%, tetapi tidak memiliki pengaruh yang signifikan terhadap permukaan alam cendana. Untuk kelembapan udara, paling tinggi ada di lokasi Karangtengah sebesar 71,70% dan ini searah dengan jumlah semai yang kami temukan karena Karangtengah ini kami temukan paling banyak. Dan dari hasil analisis regresinya ternyata kelembapan udara ini memiliki korelasi yang kuat terhadap permukaan alam cendana dan memiliki pengaruh sebesar 46,8%, tetapi tidak memiliki pengaruh yang signifikan. Untuk keasaman tanah ini paling tinggi ada di lokasi Mangunan sebesar 5,83 dan ternyata semai yang kami temukan paling sedikit dibandingkan dengan lokasi yang lain. Untuk hasil regresinya, keasaman tanah ini memiliki korelasi yang sangat rendah terhadap permukaan alam cendana dan memiliki pengaruh hanya sebesar 2,2% sehingga tidak memiliki pengaruh yang signifikan.
Okay, 1 minute left.
Oke. Untuk kedalaman tanah ini memiliki korelasi yang rendah terhadap permukaan alam cendana dengan pengaruhnya sebesar 4,2% dan tidak signifikan. Kemudian untuk variabel kemiringan tanah ini ternyata juga memiliki korelasi yang sangat tinggi terhadap permukaan alam cendana dengan pengaruhnya sebesar 70%, tetapi tidak memiliki pengaruh yang signifikan. Dan untuk variabel yang terakhir yaitu ketebalan serasa, ketebalan serasa ini ternyata memiliki korelasi yang sangat tinggi juga terhadap permukaan alam cendana dengan pengaruhnya sebesar 87,9% dan memiliki pengaruh yang signifikan. Untuk uji selanjutnya menggunakan stepwise analysis dan dihasilkan model berupa Y sama dengan min 359,25 plus 9,908 X7 plus 5,622 X3 di mana hanya variabel ketebalan seresah dan juga kelembapan udara saja yang masuk ke dalam model karena keduanya dianggap memiliki pengaruh yang signifikan dan mampu mewakili variabel-variabel lain yang tidak terseleksi ke dalam model. Untuk kesimpulannya diketahui bahwa faktor lingkungan memiliki pengaruh terhadap permukaan alam generatif cendana, di mana variabel yang paling tinggi memiliki korelasi adalah ketebalan seresah, kelembapan udara dan juga kemiringan tanah. Tapi untuk hasil dari uji analisis stepwise dalam menghasilkan modelnya hanya variabel ketebalan seresah dan juga kelembapan udara saja yang masuk ke dalam model. Berdasarkan dari pengaruh yang ada, ternyata lokasi yang paling baik untuk permukaan alam cendana ini berada di Karangtengah karena cendana yang ada di Karangtengah ini mampu memproduksi biji dan juga semai yang paling banyak dibandingkan dengan lokasi lain, yaitu sebanyak 50 biji dan juga 157 semai. Untuk saran yang kami anjurkan, yang pertama dari beberapa lokasi ini memiliki seedbed yang tipis sehingga perlu adanya tindakan seperti penambahan tanah dengan kesuburan yang tinggi, kemudian ada penambahan tanaman pionir seperti legum untuk meningkatkan kesuburan tanahnya juga, dan apabila diperlukan bisa ditambahkan tanaman inang primer bagi cendana seperti cabai dan juga krokot, dan ditambah lagi juga perlu pengawetan pohon naungan bagi cendana. Kemudian untuk yang kedua adalah bagi seed supply ini bisa ditambahkan keragaman genetiknya melalui tindakan genetic infusion. Dan yang ketiga ada semai cendana yang kami temukan di setiap lokasi harus segera dipindahkan ke persemaian pada persemaian untuk mengontrol microenvironmentalnya, karena apabila terus dibiarkan di lokasi terus dibiarkan di lapangan, maka diduga tidak akan mampu menjadi dewasa.
I'm sorry, the time is up.
Satu lagi. Ya, untuk yang keempat, ternyata setelah kami melakukan pengamatan, kami menduga bahwa naungan di setiap lokasi ini memberikan korelasi terhadap jumlah semai permukaan alam yang kami temukan. Maka dari itu perlu adanya penelitian lebih lanjut mengenai pengaruh naungan terhadap semai permukaan alam. Mungkin itu saja yang dapat kami sampaikan. Terima kasih. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Tri Banun. Is there any questions regarding the reproductive ability of sandalwood and how the genetic and environment factors affect it? If there is no questions right now, we encourage you to send your questions to the room chat in Zoom chat if there is any. If there is not, we can move on to the next question. The next representative, Arief, please.
Sure, there is no question, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I would like to react from Taman Nasional Gunung Palung. Dear Panitia Symposia, can we have the list of presenter with each title of the abstract so we can decide at which room that we will choose? And then can we have the abstract book or conference book as has been mentioned at the registration? I'm going to request the organizing committee to send the list of presenter and also the research title. And sure, we would like to send the book or conference book the day after the conference itself. So let's move to the other session. No, other session, other speakers. So the next speaker is Tofikha Malik Alamsyah Ismatama. It's my colleague here. And then he would like to present with the title of Stratified Provenance-genotype Design Application and Site Improvement on Establishing the Quasi in-situ Conservation Areas of Sandalwood in the 3 zones of Gunung Sewu. So, give applause to Tofikha Malik Alamsyah, ladies and gentlemen. Tofikha, 15 minutes for the time, but you could manage yourself.
I hope so.
Yeah, you have to. You have to make it presentation, also discussion session as well, but then regarding and according to yourself. Okay, Tofikha, time and screen are yours.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Nama Budaya, Salam Kebajikan bagi kita semua. Good morning everyone. Ladies and gentlemen whom I respect. Today, I stand before you all to represent the research which our team has done. So, before I started, let me introduce again. My name is Tofikha Malik Alamsyah Ismatama, and I'm from Forestry Faculty, Gajah Mada University, Yogyakarta, and I'm as the representative of the team. Okay, the title of the research is Stratified Provenance-genotype Design Application and Site Improvement on Establishing the Quasi in-situ Conservation Areas of Sandalwoods in the 3 zones of Gunung Sewu. Okay, next.
Tofikha, you can use the pointer.
Oh,
it's in front of you. Okay.
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 Thank you. Okay, in this presentation we will discuss or talk about, first is the background, the second one is the objectives, the third one is methods, The first is the results, and the last but not least is conclusions and implication. Okay, the backgrounds. We start for the backgrounds. So sandalwood is known for originating from Indonesia. Based on the data, over the 20 years periods, the sandalwood's population has deceased by 90%. Due to that reason, sandalwood is classified as vulnerable plant by the IUCN. Series of research is conducted from 2012 has documented the genetic diversity, reproductive ability, and the offspring quality of the 21 sandalwood population all over Indonesia. So, out 14 of 21 population of sandalwood in Indonesia are originated from Gunung Sewu Geopark, Java Island. Several populations has been selected for in-situ conservation. Several genotypes are added into existing population to prevent from losing alleles, preserve more genotypes, and improve genetic base. Also, the supports outcrossing mating system. So, considering these circumstances, it is recommended to establish a quasi in-situ conservation. In this approach, the germplasm collection are established in these natural sites with safer condition and legal status. Okay. So this is the objective of the research. So the first objective is in this study, the quasi in situ conservation was established in the 3 lands representing landscape and environment in each zone of Gunung Sewu. So the first one is Landrace, represents the alluvium montane environment in the western zones. The second one is Wanagama, represents the lowland basin environment in the middle zone. Also the last is the Petir, represent the karst area in the southern zones of Gunung Sewu. So the stratified designs involving different genotypes and provenance, also landrace, combined with the site improvement was applied. So we can create a stable population, locally adapted and genetically diverse and outcrosses population. So then site improvement were started in 2022 by applying the legume litters, topsoils, and various dungs from the cattle, bats, and birds. So for your information, the addition of the thing like the cattle, bats, and the birds dungs is due to the semi-parasitic habits of the sandalwood. So yeah, the sandalwoods, it means that the sandalwoods require addition of nutrition either from the host plants or the fertilizers. And then in January 2023, the stratified design was applied by planting super genotypes selected from these provenance and land races in combination with sand improvement treatments. So yeah, the use design was RCBD, or we can call it randomized completely block design. And then we classified seed origin into the 2 categories. The first one is the provenance and the land race. So the provenance is an exotic plant which have spread into the specific place and already adapted with the environment, while the land race is the geographical race which has adapted in specific area for a minimum 3 generations. So yeah, this is the material. The material consists of 4 land races and 1 provenance with priority for conservation. So we have northwestern alluvium zone, provenance Langgaran. Then we have southwestern alluvium zone, Wonogiri and Matupayong land races. I'm sorry, the Langgaran is also land races. Then southern karst zone is our Petir Giring land races. And then Wonosari Basin zone is Wanagama and Sri Getuk land races. And also the last is Sumba, Southeast Indonesia, or Sumba provenance.
5 minutes left,
Okay.
Tofikha.
So the first is the analysis of variant, the ANOVA. The ANOVA the function is to ensure the treatments. So we can know which treatment affect to the height and the diameter increment. And then after we know, we got the significant treatment, we continue it with the DMRT or Duncan's multiple range. Yeah, the Duncan multiple range is to determine which specific treatment after significantly after a significant difference has been detected by the ANOVA. So then the last is the analysis of isozyme. So the analysis of the isozyme is to determine heterozygosity of the sandalwood's parental. So this is the results. The results, evaluation method on the 6-month-old plantation shows that the interaction between site improvement and provenance significantly increased both the seedling growth and survival. And then the combination of glycidated litters and the dungs have been increased the seedlings growth in both Wanagama and Petir. Meanwhile, in Langgaran, the seedlings growth was best achieved by the combination of glycidated litters, bird dungs, and the cattle dung. So we can conclude that the addition of the fertilizer gives the best performance. So this is the picture. So the A1 is the treated zone, and the B1 is the untreated zone. And then this is from the graph. We can know that the provenance origin from the middle Wonosari basin zone performed the best, and then Ngangran Western zone. And then for Ponjongwan, the South Kars Hill zone performed the best growth. And then this is the survival rates. Provenance originated from the middle Wonosari basin zone performed best survival in Managama zone. And provenance originated from the southwestern alluvium zone is best performed in the western zone. And the provenance originated on southern Kars Hill zone performed the best on Ponjong southern zone. The set improvement is increased. You can see the graph. So yeah. So based on the data, we can conclude that sandalwoods originating from the specific place will perform the best on the specific place too. Okay, this is the picture of the sandalwood. So we can see that the treated one is get the best performed. And then the last is the heterozygosity. So the heterozygosity is to determine the hetero allele. So the genetic information improved that the parental heterozygosities cover area from the one, and then it means that it's increased. So this is the conclusion. The result implied that stratified design involving different genotypes and provenance combined with the site improvement might create the more stable, locally adapted, and genetically diverse. And then the last, the further recommended action are improving environmental and site quality along with the flowering and pollination treatments to improve the outcrossing rate and the seeds production. So this is the last for me. I'm sorry if there is anything mistakes. So yeah, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Tofikha, for your presentation. Give applause to Tofikha. Hold on, Tofikha. We wait for any question for participants, either online or in person. Participants, please. Is there any question from you, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to look for the online participants. No question.
Okay.
In-person participants, no question. Okay then, again, thank you, Tofikha, for amazing presentation.
Thank you for your time.
All right then, let's move to the next speaker.
Before we move to the next speaker, we would also like to inform you that the list of presenters with their abstract title has been sent through the chat room of the Zoom. So if anyone needs the list, they can check it out. Okay, moving to the next presenter, we have Violetta Pinastiti, still in the topic of sandalwood, with the abstract title of Assessing Vegetative and Sexual Reproduction Success of 15 Selected Genotypes During the Dry and Wet Season of 2022 for Establishing the Breeding House of Sandalwood in Gunung Sewu. Okay, Violetta, the time is yours. Okay, you have 15 minutes, 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. For the operator, okay.
Well, thank you. I will present my presentation in Indonesia. Baik, sebelumnya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Pada kesempatan kali ini, saya, Violetta Pinastiti, akan mempresentasikan penelitian saya yang berjudul Evaluasi Keberhasilan Perbayakan Vegetatif dengan 15 genotip cendana terseleksi selama musim penghujan dan juga musim kemarau untuk pembangunan pusat pemuliaan kayu cendana di Gunung Sewu. Seperti yang telah kita ketahui bahwa cendana merupakan salah satu jenis kayu mewah yang saat ini keberadaannya terancam punah, sehingga diperlukan upaya pelestarian agar populasinya tetap terjaga. Kegiatan awal di Gunung Sewu telah memilih 15 genotip cendana terseleksi berdasarkan kemampuan reproduksi, kelimpahan benih, kandungan santalo, dan juga ale langka. Namun hingga saat ini kegiatan pemulihan yang telah dilakukan masih mengalami kendala berupa reproduksi seksual yang rendah dan juga kurangnya pengetahuan mengenai perbayakan vegetatif. Padahal perbayakan vegetatif dapat menghasilkan klon-klon unggul yang identik dengan induknya. Sejalan dengan itu, pendirian pusat pemulihan kayu memerlukan genotip-genotip unggul yang mampu berbunga dalam waktu yang singkat dan dapat menghasilkan benih yang unggul. Oleh karena itu, penilaian mengenai perbayakan vegetatif ini sangat penting. Kemudian masuk pada tujuan penelitian. Penelitian ini bertujuan untuk mengestimasi keberhasilan perbayakan vegetatif melalui teknik top class grafting dengan 15 genotip cendana terseleksi dan kemudian disambung menggunakan 2 jenis rootstock berumur 5 dan 8 bulan yang dilakukan selama musim kemarau dan juga penghujan. Masuk pada metode penelitian. Penelitian ini dilaksanakan di Laboratorium Silviculture Intensif Gelebengan, Fakultas Kehutanan UGM pada bulan Agustus sampai dengan bulan Oktober 2022 untuk musim kemarau dan juga bulan Januari sampai dengan bulan Maret 2023 untuk musim penghujan. Dan berikut merupakan alat dan bahan yang digunakan dalam penelitian ini. Dan ini merupakan identitas masing-masing genotip asal Sion yang terdiri dari 3 ras lahan, yaitu petir, sirgetuk, dan juga imogiri. Kemudian penelitian ini menggunakan rancangan CRD faktorial dengan Sion berasal dari 15 genotip cendana terseleksi dan juga rootstock berasal dari 2 jenis semai berumur 5 dan 8 bulan. Yang kemudian dilakukan 5 kali ulangan sehingga total unit eksperimen adalah 150 unit. Kemudian masuk pada pelaksanaan. Penelitian ini dilaksanakan menggunakan metode top class grafting di mana ujung atas rootstock dibelah membentuk huruf V dan kemudian dilakukan pemotongan pada pangkal Sion dan kemudian Sion disisipkan ke belahan rootstock sehingga kedua kambium dapat menyatu. Setelah itu, kedua sambungan diikat menggunakan grafting tape dan diberi sungkup menggunakan plastik. Dan berikut merupakan dokumentasi bagaimana pelaksanaan penelitian yang saya lakukan. Untuk parameter penelitian terdiri dari yang pertama adalah persentase hidup, tinggi dan diameter, kekokohan grafting, dan juga jumlah daun. Setelah itu, data dianalisis menggunakan analisis varian atau ANOVA menggunakan aplikasi SPSS IBM20, dan apabila terdapat perbedaan yang signifikan akan dilakukan uji lanjut menggunakan tes GMRT dengan taraf uji 5%. Kemudian setelah 8 minggu pengamatan, diperoleh hasil yang pertama adalah persentase hidup. Dapat dilihat bahwa genotip PT5 dan SG2 memiliki persentase hidup tertinggi yaitu sebesar 100%. Untuk rata-rata persentase setiap musim, yaitu musim kemarau memiliki persentase hidup yang lebih tinggi sebesar 31,3%, dan untuk musim penghujan yaitu sebesar 24%. Roostok berumur 8 bulan memiliki persentase paling baik, yaitu untuk pada musim kemarau memiliki persentase sebesar 48,89%, dan musim penghujan memiliki persentase keberhasilan sebesar 75%. Kemudian untuk genotip SG4 merupakan genotip yang memiliki persentase hidup paling optimal pada saat musim kemarau, sedangkan IM2 merupakan genotip yang memiliki persentase paling tinggi pada saat musim penghujan.
3 minutes left.
Oke. Kemudian masuk pada pertambahan diameter, dapat dilihat bahwa genotip PT2 dengan roostok 8 bulan memiliki pertambahan diameter paling optimal yaitu sebesar 1,12 mm yang dilakukan pada saat musim kemarau. Untuk pertambahan diameter sendiri itu genotip SG2 dengan usia 8 bulan memiliki pertambahan tinggi paling optimal yaitu sebesar 16,6 cm yang dilakukan pada saat musim kemarau. Untuk kekokohan grafting, kekokohan paling ideal yaitu adalah genotip PT4 yang disambung dengan roostok 5 bulan pada saat musim kemarau memiliki kekokohan paling ideal yaitu sebesar 4,88 apabila mengacu pada penelitian ruler 191877. Kemudian masuk pada jumlah daun. Jumlah daun terbanyak yaitu adalah genotip SG4 dengan usia roostok 8 bulan yang di-grafting pada saat musim kemarau. Dan berikut merupakan dokumentasi mengenai beberapa semai setelah 8 minggu dilakukan grafting. Oke, masuk pada kesimpulan. Jadi setelah dilakukan penelitian, dapat disimpulkan bahwa mengembangkan metode-metode yang sesuai untuk perbanyakan vegetatif merupakan prioritas untuk produksi cendana terseleksi, yang mana akan mendukung program konservasi, perbaikan, dan juga pemuliaan. Asal genotip, karakteristik genotip, umur, dan juga musim merupakan hal yang seharusnya perlu diperhatikan pada saat kegiatan pemilihan genotip itu sendiri. Oke, sekian yang dapat saya sampaikan, kurang lebihnya mohon maaf. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give applause to Violetta. We have room for one question, either from the online participants or the ones in the room today. If there is, okay, there's one.
Tes. Terima kasih. Saya pertanyaannya pakai bahasa Indonesia saja karena di presentasinya pakai bahasa Indonesia. Perkenalkan, nama saya Fikri dan Imawan, kebetulan dari Departemen Silvikultur di FKT UGM. Izin bertanya Mbak, terkait itu kan tadi metode grafting itu kan melukai tanamannya ya Mbak untuk perbanyakan vegetatif.
Iya, betul.
Sedangkan yang saya ketahui itu kalau ada luka pada batang kemudian untuk dibudidayakan lagi itu kan berpotensi untuk adanya jamur-jamur patogen untuk masuk ke dalam situ. Nah, pertanyaan saya, bagaimana cara menanggulangi agar ketika ditanam itu tidak terserang penyakit jamur-jamur patogen gitu. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih Fikri atas pertanyaannya. Jadi untuk metode grafting sendiri itu nanti setelah batang dilukai itu bakal diikat menggunakan yang namanya grafting tape sehingga kedua luka itu dapat tertutup. Setelah itu nanti dilakukan penyungkupan agar bagian sambungan tersebut tidak terkena oleh air pada saat penyiraman. Jadi menurut saya itu sudah bisa mencegah jamur untuk tumbuh. Begitu, apakah menjawab? Oke, terima kasih.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih Violetta sekali lagi. Boleh kembali ke. Okay. We're going to head on straight to the next speaker. Okay, for Afif.
All right, then we have two last speakers here, and then I'm going to give the floor to Sulistianing Hernan Utami, Bachelor of Forestry. Okay, then, and please move forward to the floor and have your stand there. And she would like to give the brief explanation about the effects of seed supplies, seed beds, and environmental features on the natural regeneration of several sandalwood seed sources in Gunung Sewu. So, 15 minutes for your presentation, but then again and again, I'm going to remind you, you could manage your time by yourself, and please give the best presentation here because you are the last two speakers and we are excited to look for your research. Please, the operator at the screen and time and screen are yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me to introduce my name. So, I am Sulistiani Hernan Utami from Faculty of Forestry, Gadjah Mada University. And in this time, I will bring this presentation about the effect of seed supplies, seedbed, and environmental features on the natural regeneration of several sandalwood seed sources in Gunung Sewu. The background of this research, sandalwood is one of potential commodities in Indonesia because of its great potential in terms of the economic. It's the background for the community to carry out large-scale exploitation. Considering the risk of extinction, a new landrace of sandalwood in Gunung Sewu sounds promising for rehabilitation and restoration. Data series collected since 2012 has documented the population structure, landscape, and environmental features, genetic diversity, and productivity ability of 14 landraces in Gunung Sewu. Several landraces are important for several reasons, including the presence of rare alleles, the high genetic drift, the cross-mating ability, and the abundant seed sets, and therefore project to be seed source. However, despite these superior traits, there are still crucial problems related to their poor regeneration due to limited seed supplies, lack of seedbeds, and environmental constraints. An objective of this research, this study aimed to determine the effect on the reproductive ability of several sandalwood seed source in the effect of seed supply, seedbed, environmental features on the reproductive ability of several sandalwood seed source in Gunung Sewu. The location tagged to this research in Langgeran and Imogiri represented the alluvium mountaineering environment in western zone. And then Bejoherjo and Bleberan represented the lowland basin environment in middle zone. And Petir and Giring were the karst area in southern zone of Gunung Sewu. And the method, seed supplies were represented by number of flowering trees, the number of flower per trees, and the parental heterozygosity. Seedbed were represented by soil water status, soil acidity, slope, and litter thickness. Environmental parameters measured were solar radiation, ambient temperature, and humidity. Reproductive abilities were assessed by measuring the abundance of seed sets and natural regeneration. All seeds collected from the sites were taken to greenhouse and tested for seed viability. The step-based analysis into wire regression model was then applied to determine the effect of each parameter. Another step-based analysis was also conducted to determine the effect of seed supplies and environmental parameters on the sandalwood reproductive success. And then the result of this research, this graph showed that Petir in south zone has potential of seed supplies showed by ability from total flower abundance, total seed bank, seed set, and natural regeneration comparing from other landrace. The second, seen from parental heterozygosity, Petir have the highest potential of seed bank and natural regeneration, but not compatible with parental heterozygosity that show low value. Meanwhile, average reproductive ability under 20%. And this is the effect of seed beds to the reproductive ability. We take the data based on 3 places: open area, semi-shaded area, and shaded area. Both of natural regeneration and soil bank have good quantities. This is presumably because sandalwood grows more optimally at the seedling level in the set location, and the seeds rise in the right place. Litter thickness and soil depth in each landrace almost same, except at Bleberan that shows higher value. And this is the effect of environmental factor to the reproductive ability. Environmental to reproductive ability, this is so that solar radiation each landrace so that average same. And Petir have high solar radiation but has optimal growth of seedling and seed supplies. But Bejoherjo has similar condition but does not show the same result. Bejoherjo is location where it used for tourism object called Gua Pindol, and it caused many intervention that disturbing the development of sandalwood. And this is the effect of environmental to reproductive ability, soil temperature, air temperature, and humidity. In place with optimal seedling growth and seed supplies, the environmental and soil temperature tend to be stable, not too high or low. In contrast, sites with high solar radiation and lower humidity than others are less optimal for the natural regeneration of sandalwood, for example, in Bejoherjo landrace.
3 minutes left.
And this is the correlation of natural regeneration to independent variable of seed bed, seed supplies, and environment features. The seed supplies, parental heterozygosity observed, and flower abundance strongly affected the seed production. But total floral and seed sets strongly affected both soil seed bank and seedling found in nature. And for dependent variable seed beds, soil depth and litter thickness are significant for the seedling abundance. And for environment, solar radiation is the only one factor which strongly affected the soil seed bank and seedling in nature. And this is the model for validating previously. And this is some documentation from our research. This is Beji Harjo landrace. This is Bleberan. This is Giring near Gua Maria. This is Imogiri, Gumelem, Karang Tengah. And this is Ngelanggeran. This is Petir and Watu Payung. And then the conclusion and recommendation, all three of seed supplies parameter are the determinant for sandalwood natural regeneration. Both of seedbed and environmental features, particularly solar radiation, air humidity, and litter thickness, also play important role for the seed deposit. However, further seedling development needs more seedbeds and environmental support, which may be represented by the simultaneous interaction of soil depth, litter thickness, shading, air temperature, and humidity. The seedbed limitation and environmental constraint will clearly the main problem causing the poor natural regeneration in sandalwood. And this result implied that the seed supplies could not be determinant for the successful regeneration unless there are supporting seedbeds and environmental feature. So this study emphasized the importance of the seedbed management and environment manipulation, along with the seed supplies, maintenance for the sustainable management and improvement the sandalwood seed source. That's all my presentation.
I thank you so much for a very punctual presentation. Please give applause to Mbak Sulistianing Hermanutami, Bachelor of Forestry. I thank you. But then we have one question slot. If you have any question, I'm going to check the online participants. Is there any or not? No, really? From the online in-person participants? Is there any question? No? Thank you. But for your nice presentation, I thank you so much. And we have a very new insight regarding the sandalwood, many presentation here. And I'm so happy since we could know more depth regarding the sandalwood itself. But then we have break before the last presentation for 5 minutes for ladies and gentlemen here before we end the last presentation from Mrs. Dwi Arya Gunawan. Please have a break 5 minutes outside and you could bring back your food and beverages here again. Alright, so please 5 minutes starting from now, ladies and gentlemen, and please back here with your food and beverages because we are continuing with the keynote speakers and invited speakers as well. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute left to go back to our room. So please, anyone who is still outside, please come back to our room since we are going to continue to the last presenter.
Recording
All
in
right, ladies
progress.
and gentlemen, thank you. We are going to next presentation, last but not least, because we are going to continue as well to the keynote speakers as well as the invited speakers. And please, Sabila, lead our session with the last speaker.
Okay, for the last speaker of today's abstract presentation session for the Symposium 3, we have Dwi Arya Gunawan. Okay. With the abstract title of Orchid Species Richness and Their Potential Use in the Mountain Tilu Area Kuningan, West Java, Indonesia. Like we've said before, you have 15 minutes, 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. Okay, the time is yours, Dwi.
Okay, thank you for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Dwi Arya Gunawan and I will explain our research entitled Orchid Species Richness and Their Potential Use in the Mountain Tilu Area, Kuningan, West Java, Indonesia. And the next, okay, introduction. First, orchids are one of the large and globally distributed plant families, and in Indonesia, orchid plants have the most types, namely around 4,000 species when compared to other types of flowering plants. And the use of orchid is usually used as an ornamental plant and also be potential herbal medicine. As ornamental plant, we all know that orchid flowers are often very beautiful and attractive plant, but it also has the potential that is not less important, namely as herbal medicine or traditional medicine. Even some indigenous people have used it as traditional medicine. For the example is Bata ethnic people of North Sumatra. And the third, Montilu Kuningan is an area in West Java which is known to have the potential to find orchids. And previously, orchid data collection was carried out in this area by Kuningan Regional Environmental Management Agency or BPLH and Indonesian Tropical Nature Institute or Latin. But only 5 species of orchid were found, therefore data collection is considered necessary in order to find out more the richness of exciting orchid species. And the next is the method. This section consists of 3 parts. First, that's the research geographical set, and you all can see that symbolized by green color. And tool and materials, we use Sony HX350 Pro Summer camera and morphological measuring tools, GPS locus map, soil tester, thermometer, hygrometer, and luxmeter. And the third is method and data analysis. The research method used in exploration data analysis was carried out in a qualitative, descriptive, and comparison were made of literature review. And the next is result and discussion, divided to 2 parts. First is diversity and distribution of orchid in the Montilu area, and second, potential utilization of orchid in the Montilu area. And the next is diversity and distribution of orchid in the Montilu region. Based on the research, we found 36 species from 28 genera, consisting of 24 epiphytic orchid and 7 terrestrial orchid. And the result of a comparison of orchid finding the data between a 2006 study by the Kuningan Regional Environmental Management Agency or BPLH and the Indonesian Tropical Nature Institute or Latin, the species found today are new species that have never been before. Yeah. And something interesting that there are found 4 endemic species of Java, namely you can see that Psilocysca javanica, and then Crepidium junghuni, Crepidium cordesi, and Taeniopilum bisellatum. And the next is the number, the total individual of each orchid encountered also varies. And there are some species that had a total count of more than 50 individuals, while the species with the least number of individuals were found, among them Acrocentum miniatum, Psilocysca javanica, and others. And the next is the maps of orchid distribution findings in the Montilu area, Kuningan, West Java. That the point when we meet or we found the orchid symbolized by a gray color, and the distribution of orchid in the Montilu area mostly tend to be well clustered epiphytic orchid and terrestrial orchid, although some species are randomly distribution. And the next is comparison of the type of orchid found based on their habitat types. When viewed based on the type of habitat, the proportion of found epiphytic orchid is greater, 77% than terrestrial orchid, 23%. This is because the condition of the host trees in the area has a large diameter with a dense canopy cover. Most of the epiphytic orchids are found in the tree crown, especially in large tree branches and in group, although some are found singly. And the next is host tree species of epiphytic orchid habitat. The host trees found in the study are consistent of 10 species from 9 families. Each of these host trees, most of them have the characteristic of raw skin, cracked, easy to peel, and not too hard. Such tree condition favor or favorite epiphytic orchid to grow up. And the next is terrestrial orchid habitat in Mount Tilu area. At the specific condition of their habitat, almost all of the terrestrial orchids that were found gray on soil litter, except from Crapidium junghuni, grow on large rock. The type of terrestrial orchid that are found mostly in the shade of trees. And the next is average measurement result of environmental parameters. The richness of orchid species in the Tilu mountain area cannot be separated from environmental influence such as humidity, temperature, pH, light intensity, and altitude. Based on the result of the average measurement of environmental parameter, this location is suitable for orchid growth. And you can see the table is the soil moisture. There is 53% and humidity 72%, temperature 26 degrees Celsius and pH 5, light intensity 2477 sun export lux meter, and
Okay, 2 minutes left.
okay, and place altitude 3030 until 7077 meter above sea level. And that's the second is potential utilization of orchid in the Mount Tilu region. The use of orchid in mostly for ornamental plant. This plant a very important role in supporting the community economy. And based on the result of the study, there are several types of orchid that have beautiful flower. For the example, you can see the vanda tricolor, but we have to know how to make good use it, because population of vanda tricolor at the nature is decreasing, and this one can be something new project or new research about how to produce vanda tricolor, maybe with technology, isoculture, maybe, and the others. And the second is Psilocysca javanica. This is the unique species, and this is one of the endemic species of Java. And the one of Psilocysca javanica, it have the unique name we call ghost orchid or anggrek hantu, because it's so hard to see at the plant. And the next is Calanthe triplicata, Rhincocyllis retusa, and Acrocentum miniatum. You can see how beautiful the flower from the orchid. And the next potency of orchids on Mountain Tilu area can be as medicine. In addition to being on ornamental plant, orchids are also believed to have potential as to be herbal medicine. The part used are various. For the example, leaf, roots, pseudobulb, even wall of the part the plant can be make a medicine plant. And you can see the table. For the example, it's Irides odorata and Acreopsis lilifolia. And this is something interest to make a secondary research about metabolic secondary from the orchid that can be used to be medicine or herbal medicine.
I'm sorry, the time is up.
Okay.
Maybe, okay.
And the last but not least, the conclusion. And based on the research, one, there were 36 species from 28 genera consisting of 24 epiphytic orchid and 7 terrestrial orchid in the Mountain Tilu Kuningan area West Java. And second, regarding the potential use of orchids on Mount Tilu, conservation activities should be carried out. And third, further research related to the potential of orchid as medicine plant is urgently needed. And the last, although types of orchid found are not included in the red list of IUCN sites and Indonesian law number P106 concerning protection plant and animals, the use of orchids should be done wisely by carrying out conservation efforts so that this orchid will not become extinct in the future. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Dwi Arya. Can we have a round of applause for Dwi Arya? Okay. I'm sorry we have to cut this short because the time is up, but once again, we encourage you, if you have any questions or remarks regarding the presentation, to go ahead and send a chat through the Zoom chat room, okay? Because the presentation session is over, we jump to the next session, which is the Symposium 3. For that, I'll give the mic to Afif.
All right then, thank you Sabila for your time, and also we are going to move to the next session, which is the main session. All is the main session, but it's more deep down main session, which is Symposia 3 with theme of protection of indigenous knowledge and social culture safeguard. And also there are 2 invited speakers, and then we have 1 chairman, because beforehand the chairman were I and Sabila, and we have now Dr. Dwi Laraswati, right? Please stand up. All right, please make a noise for her, ladies and gentlemen. So please, yes, all right then. She is a postdoctoral researcher on the Sebijak Institute, Forestry Faculty at Universitas Gadjah Mada, and she would like to assist us in the Symposia 3 with the theme beforehand. And the area of expertise of her is forest policy and governance as a Bijak run for now, especially the roles of non-state actors. So, Dr. Dwi Laraswati experience in many or number of collaborations such as C4, GIZ if you know, and VCDO UK England, and European Forest Institute or EVI, I met before a week ago, and East OS Center, Hawaii, and etc. And I'm so happy to have Mbak Dwi Laraswati here, and give applause again to her before I give the microphone. Please, Dr. Dwi Laraswati, time and screen are yours, and please assist us for this Symposium 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the time. It's very great pleasure to be here to meet you all in person. I was after COVID pandemic that hold everything in person, so I'm being so very happy to see you here. And yeah, thank you so much, Mas Afif, yes, for introducing me so well. And Yeah, it's very great to meet you here, and we are very fortunate to talk more about the indigenous people in this event. So, without any further ado, I think every one of you already know about the roles of indigenous people in protecting our forests and our forest lands, to conserving our biodiversity or something like that. So I think every one of you is very excited to know more about this, how the indigenous people can implement their traditional knowledge to protect our biodiversity. I think in Indonesia, a lot of ethnicities and indigenous people from Sumatra until Papua, and we have a lot of indigenous people that have not been recognized so well by our government. So in this event, I would like to introduce our great speakers for today. If I'm not mistaken, we have two invited speakers for this event. So I would like to introduce the first speaker, please. The first speaker is Ibu Elin Damayanti. Yes, I think I know her. I know her because you have a lot of publication on this stuff. So Bu Elin is a certified professional engineer with more than 2 years of experience working on forestry issues. If I'm not mistaken, so many publication of that, and so many experiences about the indigenous people who have been working a lot with the NGO sector, in the governments and the research institute, etc. So she really know about the indigenous people issues because she have been playing a role as a consultant in many issues like planning, training, implementation, REDD plus, and something like that. So we would like to invite you, and please give big applause to our first speaker. Please, Welin. Yes, you can. You can. Yeah, you can choose your best position, either standing off the pupil or just sitting down. And Bu Elin, you will have like about, if I'm not mistaken, 20 minutes for presentation, and then the discussion will follow afterward. So please, Bu Elin, we're really looking forward to hear your presentation about the roles of indigenous people as a social safeguard protection. Thank you so much. The floor and time is yours, Bu Elin.
Thank you Mbak Dwi for the introduction. Good morning Bapak dan Ibu, adik-adik semua, ladies and gentlemen, and halo Mbak Emma. I'm happy to be here this morning, and also hi to everyone in the Zoom. I cannot see you, but I hope this presentation can provide some insight for you all. So the title of, can I use this? Bisa ini pakai ya? Bisa? Coba. Yeah. So my presentation is based on experience in the past 8 years. I'm working for some organization and some projects related to social forestry communities. So I will be talking about protection of indigenous knowledge and social cultural safeguards experience from social forestry communities in Indonesia. So everyone knows Indonesia, yeah? For people who are in the Zoom chat and outside Indonesia, I hope you also know that that Indonesia is located between 2 continents, between 2 oceans, and then we have more than 17,000 islands based on Badan Informasi Geospasial, Geospatial Information Agency just announced and standardized the names of the island. And we also have the land area so big, 1.9 million kilometers square, and the total area, including the sea, about 8 kilometers. But inside here, since 1990s, Indonesia already have a research and then identified there and divided or grouping the islands into 5 bigger bioregions based on the plants and animal wildlife inside. But please don't forget that inside Indonesia, there are also what we have mentioned, there are lots of indigenous people or groups indigenous groups in Indonesia. So based on the census 2020, we have 270 million people, but the research on in ethnic groups was based on census 2010. I presented here because I couldn't find the latest one. So I hope that these 1,340 groups are still there, because we all know now that some of the groups already become minimum now in people, in number, and then who knows, they might be disappearing soon. So it's not only wildlife, it's not only plants that go to extinction, but some ethnics might also, if we don't protect and if we don't preserve them. And then based on the census also, the local language in Indonesia, about 2,500. It's said by the PPS, the statistic agency. But here I would like to introduce that there is a disclaimer in this presentation, I think. The word indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge, local wisdom will be interchangeably used here, because in Indonesia itself, I think from the government, from the regulation, from the law, there is no such indigenous people. We use the term customary communities, or even in our 1945 Constitution, the English official translation use this term, adat law communities. Adat has become the bahasa Indonesia that is acknowledged internationally. So, what traditional knowledge or local wisdom used by the communities all over Indonesia, including you probably? So I could classify into indigenous knowledge or traditional knowledge, local wisdom, for livelihoods, for daily needs, for tools, equipment, building materials, germplasm. This is what have been presented since yesterday afternoon until this morning, that some of the indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge, or local wisdom used for identifying some wildlife or plants. And then for cultural, religious activities, including wild animal also used. So probably not only for wild animal, not only for food or for sale, but also for cultural or religious activities. Traditional knowledge also used for education. For, if we already heard, remotely located people, suku-suku terasing, live in the forest or on the sea, and then since they are little, the children already taught about their culture, their tradition. So education also there. So, and also traditional knowledge is used for savings for the next generation. So I would like to link this traditional knowledge with the title of this symposium about wildlife. So let's see that wildlife, how wildlife in traditional knowledge or local wisdom. Let's see first how Indonesia determined this. We have biodiversity conservation since our independence. But then, this one, and then we also have long been ratifying some conventions, even before our law, conservation law 1990s, because before that we used the Dutch regulation on that. And then to you, the conservationists, you already know about conservation law. There is two government regulation related to that, about preservation and utilization. And then related to wildlife, because this is about wildlife, how wildlife is regulated, wildlife hunting especially, captive breeding. Let's see, next, So hunting regulation in Indonesia is based on this one, conservation law, and then government regulation 13, 1994, and also the MOF decree P70, 2014. So game or wildlife hunting is a regulated hunting. There is requirements. So what to hunt is unprotected animal. Only unprotected animal can be hunted. But in the certain location, certain equipment, certain hunting requirements. You have to have license, permit, fee, guide, everything. And then hunting business also regulated. Yeah, hunting business also regulated. The location is regulated, what to do also regulated, and the hunting business license is for 30 years. Let's see. Our government didn't regulate, or not yet, yeah, traditional hunting by local community. So it's not applicable to the community. Let's see what international people say. So this is a quote from indigenous people's website in the UN. If you Google here, this one, you can find this. This is exactly I wrote here. So indigenous people face many challenges. They always denied about their rights, about their existence. But in our life, they are also excluded or poorly represented in any decision-making process, not consulted about projects affecting their lands or adoption, or if there is a new regulation, they have to follow without any consultation, and often displaced or moved. If you want to make a national park or nature reserve, people inside always, not always, yeah, years ago, move outside of the national park. That is the first idea of a national park. So how about traditional knowledge? People from that indigenous people understanding. People still say that Indonesia doesn't have the regulation, but when I try to search, even since 1945 Constitution, amended in 2000, yeah, the second amendment already included about regulating or about adat law communities, indigenous people, customary community. In 2007, there were UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and since then, at that time, Indonesia adopted and signed, but it's not ratified into our regulation because it's a non-binding declaration, yeah. And since this year, human rights NGOs, people who care about customary communities, indigenous people, always fight against this. Why Indonesia doesn't have regulation on this? But when I try to find, we already have actually 2 years after this UNDRIP, the law number 32, 2009 about protection and management of environment, especially this article, the 3 paragraphs include that, the protection of local wisdom for the management of natural resources and environment. But it's not directly like that. The implementation of this law is just issued in 2017. And this is part of the steps or process for recognizing the local communities, the customary communities into customary law communities. The steps are there and clear. And also, there is in Law 41, 1999, with the government regulation, the newly established also after the Omnibus Law, there is MOF regulation number 9, 2021, related to social forestry, and this is already, how to say, the process already more than 1 decade into the last one. And indigenous people, customary community, or whatever you want to say about these adat people are included or regulated here. Just maybe we don't know. So, what? We think, oh, okay, they are not, we don't know them. And then how we can involve them in any of the government projects, for example, development. So I'd like to introduce my experience with some colleagues since 2016. If Pak Arief Mahmud still here in the Zoom, probably you remember this project, Pak Arief. In an internationally funded government project, we started with 2 communities. One is in North Kalimantan and another one is in Kapuas Hulu. Both are local communities. One already got initial permit for hutan desa, village forest, but another one has been struggling to get customary forest status until now. So based on those two projects, the best practices we develop and support other communities who wanted to develop a project for managing their forests with various funding, various donors, various NGOs. We can see here the profiles of each area and each community, so it's different. And what I found is that, like this, there are discrepancies, there are differences, yeah, between what the community want to do with their forest and then what the government required them to manage the forest. So here we can see what the communities want to do with their forest, but the government, when they are issuing social forestry licenses, that's what I call, or permit or approval, persetujuan ya, perhutanan sosial, these are embedded into the permit, the SK. So they have to do this. But then, this is a difference between traditional local wisdom and scientific forestry, I think. There must be gaps. What are gaps? You already know. The knowledge already different, and then the technology, if you want to mark the boundary, what do you have to do? Students probably already know, the practitioner already know. You have to do many things before you can mark the boundary of an area, right? And then, so we need something to bridge the gaps. So during this time, the development of projects with community, with various supporters, NGOs, international donors, or Indonesian donors, or even if you participate yesterday's presentation, there is a Red Plus project, something like that, funded by international or the government. Even the government already also have some projects related to this. So we try to assist these communities and their community facilitators for developing a project that is not as business as usual. So usually the community only know that we will make a national park here. Please sign. Not like that anymore. So because they are given or having the social forestry permits approval, they have to manage their forest so that they have to start from the beginning. So these are the steps that we develop based on the best practices, the lesson learned from the two communities. The keys are this. We realize that we have to use a standard. If Indonesia doesn't have one, use the international one. But I know that there is an Indonesian standard for building or developing projects with communities, developed by KLHK, but it seems not publicized. I also just found that, but it seems no one used it yet because it's a voluntary, yeah? And then comply with the law. And during the implementation of the project, we have to do adaptive forest management. So the project is not static like that, but it based on the development of the communities. These are the bases. Anyone knows FPIC? Free, prior, and informed consent. It's been used now in Indonesia because the international funding, the international donor, facilitator, NGOs required this. So that Indonesia also, if you want to join a project internationally, they have to do this. But if you want to see, is it available in our governmental regulation, you have to look back into the MOF Decree 34, 2017. It is included there, just people didn't know. Oh, there is no base foundation of this activity in Indonesia. No, there is. Just we didn't know that there is such regulation. The next is how we bridge. I link this only to the wildlife part, yeah, only the wildlife part, through the biodiversity, participatory biodiversity assessment. We try to combine traditional and scientific knowledge through these steps. So there is technical assistance team. I'm there. I'm inside there. And then there is our NGO as a community facilitator. We train them on how to facilitate the community FGDs. And then the community themselves identified the species based on the materials we have developed. After that, the NGO will support the community by data input and analysis using matching it with the international standard and identification of conservation status like CITES, and then IUCN Red List and Indonesian regulation itself. And then we as technical team support the community and NGO facilitators to make the report, revision, or finalization. If you see here, these are local communities who use the materials and methodology and protocols we develop. And if I should say, they are hunters. People, since yesterday's presentation, said that, oh, the hunters cannot be contacted, for example. That is illegal poaching, or there is poaching, wildlife poaching, something like that. But if we try to come to the community and then show that the project being developed is beneficial for them, they will come. The hunters are coming, and they are the one who identified species using books, using materials that we develop. And this is some pictures from the, I only took some picture from some projects, yeah? Each of these are different projects. There's in Papua, in Aceh, and then in, where are these? Yeah. So not only men who knows about wildlife. Women also, ibu-ibu, yeah, women, even children likes to do this, but we don't count the children identification. So if you have not done yet working with the community, it's best time to start with your project. And the result of this, I can only summarize, all of the, from the 34 communities I worked with, 30 of them already done this participatory biodiversity assessment, and these are the summary. So we identify, we prepare until 5 taxa. We don't have the plans yet because it's difficult. Each area has different species, but for other taxa, the wildlife, the manual books are there. So it's easy to develop a protocol for that. And there is also limitation. During the assistancy, we start with 2 taxa because the materials we have only 2. But then we develop into this until 5 taxa. And you can imagine how many species they can identify. Local communities, per community started from 89 species, from only 2 until 5 taxa, until 273. Because we limit the time. The discussion only went on 2 hours, about 2-3 hours. But then when the community, we haven't finished this yet. Okay, you can do add your time, but it's not part of the session, something like that. So they are eager to do identification. And the identified species with conservation status, this is the last part is we support them. We support the community to identify this. We already make the list, and then the NGO facilitator, they just cross-check. So you can imagine within this number of species, there are critically endangered species, about 1 until 8 per community. They found it. They found it, yeah, found in quotes, yeah, because they only see the picture, and then this is the local name, and then the NGO facilitator will facilitate with identifying this. So, the key message, the last key message for protecting indigenous knowledge and social cultural safeguards, I think, is this 4. First, participatory approaches. We need to go to the community. We need to open our minds that local wisdom, traditional knowledge It's not backward, it's not ketinggalan zaman gitu ya. But it is a part of our history. And then free, prior, and informed consent need to be done in any development of the project, in any step that needs decisions from the community, whether they want to join this project or not, whether they understand that if we cannot hunt this species anymore, then what we can do. They need to know what they can do and then participate in deciding what they can do to support this conservation. Stakeholder engagement need to be done since the first. Participatory approaches is part of stakeholder engagement. And here is the last one. Grievance and redress mechanism need to be developed. Anyone knows about this? Pengaduan, kotak pengaduan gitu kalau di kantor desa ya. If in the village office, usually there is a box for complaints, something like that. So we need to develop this and understand how community accept any new information, new project, new governmental regulation, so that they are not felt left behind anymore, and then all of the stakeholders are involved in any kind of activities that affecting their lives. So probably that is my presentation for this time. Thank you. If you have any question.
Please give him big applause for Ibu Elin. Thank you so much, Elin, for the great presentation. So I got understand that actually the traditional knowledge of the indigenous people or the communities group is really advanced rather than we can imagine, right? So so please everybody in the Zoom, how many participants in the Zoom? So if you have a question, yes, please. I think there are 2 questions first. You can stand up and introduce yourself and what your question is.
Okay, thank you. My name is Dwi Arya Gunawan and I'm from Violaska Uin Sunan Kalijaga. So interesting with the mentory, and actually I have research from my skripsi at ethnozoology at indigenous people Kampung Pitu. Maybe some from us know the Kampung Pitu. I know that I just want to hear the simple message from Ibu to deliver simple to our generation that knowledge, indigenous knowledge is important, and this is in fact all of us feel that it's not related anything like traditional medicine or herbal medicine. It's not related with the conventional medicine or chemical medicine. And the indigenous knowledge, actually, it's based on the trust, right? So I just want to hear from the narasumber what the message, simple message we can deliver to our next generation about indigenous knowledge, indigenous or knowledge indigenous or local wisdom. Thank you.
So if I can review your question is about just a simple message. What's the importance of the indigenous people, and you can deliver the simple message to the next generation. I think that's question. I hope it works. Okay, Elin, you can answer delegate to that question.
So it's just probably introducing that there are traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge out there, outside their house. If you means next generation is your children or grandchildren, something like that. So usually they don't know that there are other ethnicities in Indonesia, or even their neighbor, they don't know what they know daily. For example, if your parents, when you are little, for example, if you have headache or if you have fever, your parents will give this. That is in the traditional knowledge. So those kind of sensitization, sosialisasi, sensitization to our next generation is the first, so that even chemical or the advanced technology is started or based on research on what traditional people knows. So if you don't know, for example, the medicine for malaria, for example, indigenous people already know. Everywhere in Indonesia, they use pulai, Alstonia scholaris, or mahogany, or brotowali, or something like that. Everyone knows, but no one knows in the modern society. Then they search what are the ingredients. Okay, let's make these ingredients. And they make it chemically. So this is probably a sensitization in your community first, in your home first, your community, and then start to be curious probably about everything. Maybe something like that. I don't know how to answer.
Okay, I hope it can answer your
Yeah.
question well. Okay, next question, yes, please.
Nam.
Please introduce your name first and then start the simple question.
Yeah, hi, I'm Namrita from UI. Thank you for the presentation. I actually, I think very similarly to you, indigenous knowledge and the people who truly belong to the land needs to be ujung tombak for any activity. So yeah, thank you for that. I have two questions. One is, it's interesting that you brought up the last point, the grievance and redressal mechanisms. Just wanted to know if you can maybe give us a few examples of how you have dealt with this issue before, when there have been where there have been issues of grievances, and how have you redressed it, and if there have been examples from your work in the different with the different communities. And secondly was with the picket methodology, maksudnya yang pakai when you use images to identify species. I think it's called picket.
PBA?
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so in that methodology, how do you verify the identification of species? Because in my experience working with communities in Kalimantan Tengah, setiap daerah is a different name for the same species, like literally changes from one thing to the other. I mean, with animals, maybe it's a bit easier. With plants, I think all of you know in Java itself, from Java Barat to Java Timur, there are maybe 300 names for the same plant species. So how do you verify it? And also, how do you verify the visual identification if you're using books and other visual resources?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The first, what we did for developing grievance redress mechanism is, start to discuss with the community. We are developing a project. If something happens, someone complain to this project, for example, what you want to do, and they discuss. Usually, traditional system already have those kind of conflict resolution or dispute resolution already have. Usually we start from there. And then it's not stopping there. Probably the complaint cannot be solved in the village level. We need to go outside, invite a neutral third party to mediate. And then if those steps also not worked, usually there is arbitration or court. So these grievance mechanisms are developed with the communities and then advanced with the discussion with the NGO. And do you know if we have a law on that? We have a law on that. If you want to take note, it's Undang-Undang 30 tahun 1999. So it's about arbitration and alternative, arbitrasi dan alternatif penyelesaian sengketa. So arbitration and alternative of dispute resolution. So the step there is so broad, but the indigenous knowledge, the traditional knowledge, traditional system, it seems match with that. So the first part of the regulation mentioned about the alternative dispute resolution is mentioning about traditional way to solve the problem, and then if it's not solved, you can escalate to the mediation, even 2 steps mediation provided or guided by this law. And then the last one is arbitration, something like that. I hope that's answer. The second one is how to verify the traditional knowledge on wildlife or plants, something like that, yeah. So first, names is not a matter, because if you go from Sabang until Merauke, Pulai, Alstonia scolaris has different names. We don't use that in scientific arena, yeah. We use the scientific name. So when a community, we use pictures, right? And then sometimes the pictures to identify these animals, the wildlife, are similar. But hunters usually know the difference between this species and this species. So there is the first identification, and then how to validate. We will usually in the project implementation plan, there is repetition of PBA, Participatory Biodiversity Assessment. Why Participatory Biodiversity Assessment is used? Because we want to bridge the gap. They don't have money, community doesn't have money to invite researchers like you, scientists on wildlife. They are highly skilled and need a lot of equipment to do the research. But if the project is designed to identify or inventory, yeah, the biodiversity inventory, and put into the project budget, then we can invite them. So at least the community have the data, and then if it's not enough, for example, using a standard, the standard said, oh, this is not enough. Okay, let's see an expert who can verify this. If not, then do the biodiversity inventory. But that's need a lot of money, so yeah, we have to find the money first so that the inventory can be done. So those are the steps. For this participatory biodiversity assessment, we have done with 2 first community in 2016 until 2018. We use the standard, if you ever heard Plant Vivo standard, and it's passed, Plant Vivo standard. Just for the verification, the project also, because this is internationally funded government project, we also at that time commissioned a few scientists to do the biodiversity inventory. And then when we match, oh really, lots of species identified by the community than the researchers, because the time, they use the time only probably 1 week for research. The community has their own experience the whole life. Every time they go to the forest, oh, I see this, oh, I see that, or oh, we catch this and we eat it. They still remember. So I think that is the step by step, and then yeah, it's not to how to say, mengecilkan apa ya, to make scientific not important for the community, no, but we try to verify what the community understand and what is the scientific part of that. So that is the scientists, the researchers, students' role in this protection of indigenous knowledge and social cultural safeguards. I think that is what I can say.
Yeah, thank you, Berlin. I think the key is just about the collaboration, right, between the indigenous people and then from scientists like us to fill the gaps, to bridge the gap knowledge between us. So that makes sense. Okay. Okay, next question, please. We still have a time before the last question from you or from the Zoom participants. Is there any question?
I cannot access.
Yeah, well, we cannot see the participants in the Zoom. Maybe the committee you can display.
Ada pertanyaan dari Zoom nggak?
Is there any question from the Zoom? No? Raise hand. Okay, Pak, I'm sorry.
Iwan from UNDP.
Pak Ivan, yeah, from UNDP, yes, please, Pak Ivan.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. Thank you, Mbak Elin, for the presentation.
There is no
my name is...
There's no voice.
Hello, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you clearly right now. Okay,
Okay,
yes,
thank
please,
you for
Pak.
confirmation. Yeah, interested with your last question about the kotak saran, or we call it as a grievance redress mechanism. I just wondering if you could share the best practices or the good experience and how we should manage the grievance redress mechanism or kotak saran to make it effective, and then FPIC already or successful in implementation. Was not just about the concept. And yeah, I believe that some project already apply, but we don't know or very limited knowledge about how should we manage that. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, unfortunately, all of these projects, only one project have implemented the plan until now, including the grievance mechanism. So I myself didn't contact them before I present this material, Pak Iwan. So probably if it is better for me to introduce you to the NGO facilitator, and then have the experience from the community and this NGO during the grievance mechanism, and whether there is complaints or not on their project. So probably that is the thing that I can support. Thank you.
Thank you, Berlin. The commenters of the time is over, right, for the session 1. So please give a big applause to Ibu Elin. Thank you so much for your sharing with us. So yeah, we got understanding that the role of traditional knowledge is really matter to advance our our knowledge from the researchers and society. So yeah, you can sit down here or just and please confirm whether the second speaker already joined us today or not. Okay. Okay, so the second speaker for today will be Pak Darmanto, PhD. So if I'm not mistaken, Pak Darmanto right now in Praha, right, in Prague. So he will be joining online from Zoom. So I would like to introduce a little bit more about his profile. Pak Darmanto is a researcher at the Oriental Institute Chas Academy of Science Prague, and a lot of publication he has been producing for about the traditional knowledge, and his undergraduate thesis even won the Man and Biosphere Award for Young Researcher and Environmentalist, and he later worked at UNESCO Jakarta Office Siberut Biosphere Project. And during his years in Siberut, he established, I think, this environmental NGO base, and he has been a coordinator for the NGO and resulted a lot of publication about Hutan Siberut. And I think this will be interesting for us to hear his presentation more about Siberut, orangutan, and other indigenous people and related things. So please, Pak Darmanto, time is yours. Very nice to see you. I think in Prague right now it's still early morning. Yeah, still
Yes,
very
indeed.
early morning. So yeah, Pak Darmanto, you have about 20 minutes to present, to share your experiences on Siberut and indigenous people, and the discussion will follow afterwards. Thank you so much. Time is yours.
Thank you very much for the moderator. It's indeed it is early morning here in Prague. I hope I can present in a better time, but I think that's it is what it is. Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. I would like to share screens. Now you can see this my screen?
Not yet, Pak Darmanto.
Not yet. So
oh yeah, we can see right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My presentation based on my experience as a researcher and also a conservation practitioner, entitled Contextualizing Social Safeguard to Protect Biodiversity and to Understand Indigenous Voice in Sumatran Rainforest. So this is already described, albeit briefly, from the earlier presenters. Now social safeguard are a set of mutually reinforcing process designed to respect and protect the rights of the people whose lives might be impacted by development or conservation decision and action. Social safeguards mechanism consists of a series of activities from consulting and designing FPIC, free prior informed consent, as mentioned before, reporting, monitoring, and evaluating, and even grieving and or complaining mechanism just discussed lately, and how development agency or conservation agency handling the grievance from the community. Now, the social safeguard are major mechanism for identifying and putting measure in place to prevent and avoid indigenous and local communities suffering harm and negative impact from conservation activists. This idea came from the experience that many conservation projects in the past, especially the large-scale conservation project, can do harm to indigenous community. For example, there is a case in Indonesia and elsewhere in the world that indigenous people and the local community are resettled, are moved from their ancestral land because the implementation of conservation. So social safeguard have long been an element of global development agency, either in investment project or development project, or either in conservation project. As a global normative standards, social safeguards are the result of global lawmaking process and geopolitical contestation. Historically, social safeguards are respond from the critics of civil society, NGO, academics, and leaders, and shaped by the emergence of new powers such as China and India. So the safeguard, especially promoted by World Bank, historically is part of government's global struggle over developments, how development or conservation projects will protect the rights of indigenous people, as mentioned before. My presentation, however, will deal neither with the historical nor political aspect of the safeguard. I have just had highlights. Instead, it concerns with how we contextualize this standard procedure for socially and environmentally sound conservation at a specific place. My presentations depart from the simple hypothesis that as a normative guidance, as global standards, safeguards will not be a one-size-fits-all mechanisms, not the panacea for addressing all conservation problems. We have a lot of, conservation problem on the ground, conflict with community, conflict with the private sectors. So safeguard will not be able to solve all this kind of problem, because each conservation project has objective and approach, and they are implemented in a particular space and time. So in a particular space, in a specific engagement with the community in particular times. So conservation agency, either NGO or national park or international fundings, must recognize how important it is not to apply a single formula for social safeguard. The safeguard should be tailored to the local ecological, social, and historical context. Flexibility in determining what set of social safeguard to apply and how to apply them is vital. Applying a single top-down or outside-driven standard may lead inadvertently to a violation of the rights of these people. To illustrate how conservation needs to contextualize social safeguard into local context, I will draw two cases from the conservation in Sumatran rainforest, in which I personally participate both as anthropologists or conservation practitioners, an academic in just Academy of Science, and my role as environmental anthropologist for Sumatran Orangutan Society. So I will draw my case study to give a complicated picture of how we should implement social safeguard when we apply for conservation project. The first case is my long research and engagement with the conservation practice in Seabrooke Island. Seabrooke Island, which I assume that most of you already know, is a biodiversity-rich small island located around 100-kilometer west coast of Sumatra Island. Siberut is known for its high degree of endemism of plants, animals, especially primates. So yeah, according to the research and conservations, Siberut is a kind of island of paradise, both for wildlife and the people, because not only the island has rich biodiversity, the island also the homeland of the Mentawai people, the indigenous people who preserve their unique Australian cultural heritage. And you can see in the picture that they have kind of very colorful cultures with shamanism, with rituals, and with the particular way of seeing the world. The combination of rich biodiversity and a fascinating culture produce a perfect image of indigenous people living harmoniously in the biodiversity paradise. Since 1980s, conservations have long argued that the nature, especially forest, is vital to preserving for Mentawai endemic primates, Siberut hydrological ecosystem, and not least importance, the future of indigenous culture at the time under immense pressure of the Indonesian government, because at the time the central government of Indonesia forced people to move from their land and move and abandon their traditional lifestyle. Conservation became a good friend of the indigenous people, because in 1780s there is a series of logging operation there in Siberut, who that can log over 1 million hectare cubic timber from the forest. So the conservation project since 70s until 90s and then 20s succeed to establish nature reserve in the beginnings, halting the logging operation, and eventually protecting a half of the island as a national park in early 90s. Had not been conservation initiative, Siberut tropical rainforest will be destroyed, and the Mentawai will potentially have suffered from the loss of its culture and knowledge. So there is a question I saw in the Zoom chat. There is a staff from National Park. I believe that they experience this. That's a lot of people, not all, a lot of people, Mentawai people, always ridicule, questions, and resist or even protest against a national park and conservation. So the question why? One of the main problem of that time that conservation and the establishment of national park did not conduct what we call FBIC process. The Mentawai people were not consulted in the process of the park establishment, especially in the land issue, which is important for Mentawai people. All clans or suku who hold land and forest claims were never asked whether or not they will wish to surrender their land for the park. The Mentawai felt that NGO conservation, park management, and researcher, mostly from Andalas University, sell the park to foreign people without their consents. The other problem is that conservation agencies have uncritically imposed a Western idea of conservation and socialized literally the 1990 conservation law, implicating that Mentawai people should separate from the nature, should move from the national park. So this creates a big problem, because like for the long history of Mentawai people, they already occupy the place that now become a national park. And the land issue is paramount, because it's part of their identity. When the park announced that the park belong to the land belong to the nations, to the state, creates a tension and a problem. However, I observe also the conservation agency, especially park, also changed their attitude toward the Mentawai cultures and also acknowledge the land issue. However, the park, as far as I'm concerned, the park say that the park still belong to the state, and the Mentawai can access the land in the park as long as Mentawai people practice traditional farming or extract forest or resource from subsistence purpose. So they insist that the land in the park belong to the state and will tolerate the Mentawai doing traditional activities, hunting, gardening in the park as far they only do for subsistence purpose. So this is the case that the absence of free prior informed consent create a long and lasting problems. After maybe 40 years in the establishment, 30 years after the establishment of park, if you are a national park staff, you go to the Seabird Island, you always questions, you always ridicule. What is the purpose of the park? Why you create a boundary in the park? Why the park do not recognize land issue? So this kind of question that's always asked by Mentawai people. The second case, this is based on my participation in the Sumatran Orangutan Conservation Project as consultant of Sumatran Orang Society. So Sumatran has now, we already know that I will not explain some more. Sumatran orangutan has undergone rapid recent population declines, been listed as critically endangered by the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. The combination of conservation status and the threat of orangutan generate a sense of conservation urgency. In the West Toba landscape, there are three important habitats for orangutan. First, the Batu Aden Protection Forest, not in between the North Sumatra and Aceh province, Sirangas Wildlife Sanctuary, and Sikulaping Protected Forest. Our surveys, SOS and Tahuka survey indicate that there is a high density population of orangutan in these blocks of forest. However, the population in each blocks are too small to be viable in isolation. There's a problem of fragmentation because the construction of road, the expansion of settlements, and the expansion of oil palm plantation in the area that create a fragmented habitat, which is dangerous for the population of orangutan. One way to alleviate this conservation problem is creating corridor between this block of forest. One corridor that's SOS and Tahuka would like to propose is like orgy corridor, we call it. That this corridor connects Sikulaping Forest, the protected forest you can see in the green color, and Sirangas Wildlife Sanctuary in the purple color. The light corridor is legally located in the production forest or HPT, but historically and traditionally settled by an intimately tied to marga or lepuh or people of Pak Barat. The climate of the land in this particular area is Batak Pak Sing Sing, which is living in village, three villages around the corridor, Majanggut, Bandar Baru, and Simarpara. The Solin group, this is the marga, is the major claimants, but this particular marga divided into three major groups, Solin, Kutaliang, and Permamang, in which each this lepuh have their own claim over the land. Other group is Brutu Marga. So this particular corridor is occupied traditionally and claimed by various people. The land tenures in the corridor is very complicated and dynamic. The land claims made on a wide variety of actors, including kinship, genealogy, historical land use, social exchange, and the past mythological relations. So the way they claim the land is part of the history of their movement, their origins, asal usul. So this is very complicated things. However, there are the claims of the land also driven by current political, social, economic, and individual and group interests. For example, if one particular clan have strong political leaders who have a political position in district, they can propose their claims, while the lower power, the clan does not having power, they normally they don't propose their claim. Each group of the clan had their own version and cannot be regarded as a true clan without further investigation into the past and present social, political, economic relation. So this makes the process of identifying the rightful owners and related land boundaries of the corridor is very sensitive and politically loaded process. SOS and Tahoka have established safeguard mechanisms, obtaining free prior informed consent from all parties, including Brutu clan, and proposed conservation agreement. In the beginning, for a year, we worked to provide FPIC consent. We organized a series of discussion at the community level with all the groups and with all the villagers, so they can support the conservation activity. Initially, all parties agreed to collaborate with Tauka and OS to establish corridor. However, the presence of conservation activities, for example, we do participatory mapping, ethnographic research, agroforestry initiative, or series of meeting to incorporate RPJMD, village planning to conservations. This kind of activities change the dynamic relation between the groups and reveal kind of provoke latent conflicts, in particular with the Solin group. So our presence, the conservation presence, change the dynamic of political relation in the village level. So one groups support conservation, one groups feel threatened by conservation. So this is complicated story. A number of people see conservation as an ally for development purpose, and they are keen to participate in conservation and establishment of corridor. The others see that conservation threat their interest in expanding village and smallholder oil palm plantation. So some powerful people who have capital, who have a political position, they want to expand their oil palm plantation in the state forest, in the corridor area. The majority, however, are waiting of if the conservation provide materials and social benefit. The tension, the conflict came again to the surface after the involvement, the NGO, SOS and Tahuka involved the State Forest Agency in this project. The involvement of Forest Agency or KPH Sidi Kalang is seen a handicap for a particular group of to reclaim their land, because the status, most of the people in the village want to change the status of the land from forest HPT from protection to APL. This is the story, because like the land in the past is designed as a transmigration site as well. So transmigration department promised the community to change to convert the status of the forest into the APL. So they remember that when they agree that to settle in the village, they claim that the Department of Transmigration promise of pemutihan to from the land. Eventually, one of this Soling group that residing around the corridor have felt that their position is threatened and their aspiration will not be fulfilled. They decided not to cooperate with conservation activity, and they formally proposed a complaint from FPIC and withdrawn from the participations in the conservation project. So the layout establishments has experienced a setback.
Are we on the right slide right now?
Sorry?
Is conservation pressure is on the
Yes.
right slide?
Yes,
Conservation
yes.
pressure. Okay.
Yes, the layout establishment has experienced a setback. it will definitely take a lot of work and energy to solve the immediate internal conflict within the solid group. In the meantime, SOS and Tauka are pressured by funders, by donors, to deliver conservation objective they propose. So there is a tension, conservation pressure. I mean that there is a pressure from the community that they want to expand their oil palm, and they kind of reject the idea of the corridor. But at the same time, the NGOs are under pressure to deliver the conservation objective, because they already have been present there for 2 years, so have to deliver the conservation objective because the money has been spent and the shared activity has been organized. So, but the conservation corridor is not established yet. So the question, what should SOS and Tauka do? Implementing safeguard policy and reworking the relation with the solid group with the risk of delaying of corridor establishment and lost the trust of funders. So should they rework their relation with the community with the risk that they will delay the conservation and get the pressure and lost their funders? Or should they recognize and protect indigenous land claim and knowledge over the land with the risk of difficult relation with the forest agency that hold authority over the land? So should they promote the land claim from the community with the risk that the land convert to the APL with that the aspiration of the community, with the risk that they have to be in difficult position with the KPH, with the forest agency? Or should they working with the two solid groups to establish the corridor, delivering conservation objective, working with the KPH, with the forest agency, with the risk of ignoring the voice and encountering long-term conflict with a particular group of solid group? So this is the picture that I would like to discuss. So two cases I presented above provide an example that each conservation approach warrant different combination of social safeguard given the social, historical, political, and cultural context and potential risk. In the case of Mentawai, the genuine FPIC process is required when the conservation agency infringe on land issue and land claim by affecting access and use of Mentawai forest. It also illustrates the limited gains made by indigenous people through the effort to participate in conservation activities. For example, the recognition of indigenous knowledge and culture and practice emphasize that Mentawai access to their ancestral land and their participation within a national park in a conservation framework. So if they, for example, cut their forest and sell timber in a domestic purpose, they will be in the trouble. In the case West Toba, SOS and Tauka encounter a delicate social dynamic as the establishment of light corridor regenerate past or internal conflict and change the political dynamic within indigenous community and between indigenous community and forest authority. The community is no way homogeneous. That is very important. That if we talk about indigenous people or local community, they are not the same as a whole. In a village, there is the powerful people, there is elites, there is a common people. So they are not. It's not relative homogeneous and harmonious. Conflict is part of the indigenous people social relationship. So the corridor illustrate the tension of the urgency of orangutan conservation and the need petitions in understanding indigenous voice. All two cases warrant the biodiversity conservation and protection of indigenous rights and knowledge are not kind of just administrative or procedure issue like managerial issue like many social safeguard promoters say. Some critics have already shown that the opportunity brought by safeguard implementation is limited in generally incorporating indigenous people concerns, voice, and interest. The case of Liordi clearly illustrate that FPIC is very easy to, not very easy, but can be obtained and can be agreed with the community. But the problem is that if there are changing dynamics, how we can manage mechanism of complaint and grieving mechanisms as I show. So the social safeguards and trends in the fields of power surrounding indigenous knowledge recognitions. They are complex process, not just only ticking the box or just listing what we've done as conservationists, but this is a process required constant and socio-political negotiation between conservation practitioners, conservation actors, conservation agency, and indigenous people and the local community, involving the dynamic of powers and economic relation of funding and support from the state agency to give kind of bring illustrated that if we have like a really funded projects and we want to implement, we agree administratively with the NGO and the state, but when we came to the local community, if they reject the conservation, should we withdraw our participation in community or we impose conservation? Because like orangutan is important, but community is reluctant to participate. How we could deal with this situation? That's the question that many conservations, either from a national park, for NGO, for funding agency, have experienced on the ground in the field. So how to moving forward? This is the last slide. I hope I can manage my times. This is the fourth point that I would like to raise. First, that the need to contextualize and tailor social safeguard to local context to avoid or mitigate risks associated with conservation activities. This the second point that I would like to raise, to ensure that social safeguard in the context of conservation achieve their objective without being unnecessarily burdensome and costly to conservation agency, especially for local conservation, because like this is global mechanisms that funding state and other agency, powerful agency from above want to impose, because this is kind of semi-obligatory. So you can run conservation project without having safeguard protocol. But at the same time, somehow this process takes a long time for local NGO to provide that, because they work on the ground and they encounter difficulties to engage with community. So how do we balance this kind of the imposition or the obligation of implementing safeguard, and how to incorporate local knowledge and culture? And the third, that safeguard mechanisms should reflect the interest and preferred protocol of indigenous people themselves. So that's this is in line with a point that's raised by the previous presenter, that this is international performance standard should be incorporate local voice. And the last one, it will be very helpful if the indigenous people or local people, local community, it's themselves to take the lead in determining the most ethically and practically relevant safeguard for conservation in their place and their ancestral or the land. That's the last point that I will like to propose. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope I'm not exceed the limited time that's given for me. Thank you very much. Welcome to questions and comments. Thank you.
Ground level during our research or our conservation projects on the ground. So please, if you have any questions or comments or sharing about your experience, yes, please. You can introduce yourself first and then your question.
Hello, Pak Darmanto. My name is Iksan. I have some question for you. We know that social safeguard, environmental and social safeguard, is one of the environmental compliance mechanism, and I want to ask you about what are the technical measures about the social safeguard in the development issues? We know that organization like International Finance Corporation from World Bank Group, they had a serious requirement about the environmental and social safeguard in their specification for the project that they give the money about that. So my question is about that, how the technical measures in the social safeguard in the development issue. Thank you, Dr. Darmanto.
Thank you for your question. Yes, please, Pak Darmanto. So he's asking about the technical measures for environmental and social safeguard. Maybe you can explain a bit more based on your experience. Yes, please, Pak Darmanto.
Yes, thank you for Iksan for the question. I guess this question is required kind of a lot of time to answer because it is very technical. That's the point that I would like to raise. That social safeguard first is not only the technical issue, but I will answer that. Based on my experience with the SOS, it requires a heck of time to determine this, the technical measurements. For example, there is a 5 or 6 steps to tailor to process the procedure from the first discussion for FPIC to informant consents to agree to mechanism and monitoring evaluation until the grieving mechanism. How we set up a board of kind of panel in the SOS and Tahuka, kind of independent panel to accommodate if people on the ground or staff of the NGO have complained about the conduct of the conservation project. So this is we have worked for 6 months and now still not fully yet have the technical measurements. So, but I can answer the question about the World Bank standard. Of course, there is a standard because World Bank is the lead agency to promote safeguard, and they have when I read the whole series of the safeguard is, oh my gosh, this is a very detailed and very technical. This is very good to give a conduct this guidance for we are working on the ground. But the problem is that conservation, I note before that somehow, for example, if you have a conflict of orangutans with community in, for example, in Batang Toru or in Singkil, then you have to take a decision. But at the same time, community don't want to participate. And they complain that why you rescue orangutan, why you don't help me to do this, and they complain. And how you can deal with that? There is no kind of clear-cut answer how to deal with that. So you have to understand the local context. That's why the safeguard need locally contextualized, locally established, not only just according to World Bank, which is provide a good guidance, but the most important is how you incorporate the indigenous voice, the indigenous people articulation. So that's why important. For example, my experience from the case of Mentawai or Batang Toru and West Toba, in Pak group, they have different set of organizational institution. For example, they have Sulang Silima. But in Batang Toru, they have different social structure that's providing complaint for the community. So this organization influence how we set up the mechanism and the technical measurement. For example, give you kind of a brief example how we set up different mechanism for safeguard. In Pak Barat, this majority of Christians. Indigenous people of Pak Barat is majority Christian, where in Batang Toru is majority is Muslims. So the religion influence how we set up mechanism. For example, in Christian in a Christian community in Pak, we incorporate a church to give kind of position if there is a conflict mediation. if one, there's a conflict between NGO and a community or persons, then not only the village institution or state institution, but also church institution. But in the West Toba and in Batang Toru, we incorporate kind of Majlis Ulama, kind of Islamic religion institution to involve that. So this setup kind of represent how we are sensitive to the local context. That's my answer. I hope my answer can help you understand the complexity of the technical issue. So, but for the I think we don't have time to draw in details how we employ the technical terms, how we measure evaluating and complaint mechanism. I hope this answer. If you not satisfied, you can raise your hand and make a recommend on my part. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. Is it already enough or?
Yeah, I think it's enough, Dr. Darmanto, about that. I myself clearly little bit confused about the technical measurement of the social safeguard itself, because the complexity of the social dynamics itself. And then thank you for your answer. It really helps me.
Yeah. Yes. Just quick notes that even in the development agency, not only for Mas Iksan working on the ground, even I believe that I know some friends working on the World Bank. They still confused about the safeguard their organization creates, because that's why in the last couple of years there is a lot of safeguard workshop and symposium. Even the conservation I draw in the second presentation. Now a couple months ago there is a big symposium and conference about the conservation and safeguard in Africa, organized by WHS, because this is kind of I describe. This is treacherous. It is very complicated field that you need to sensitive of the local context, but also you have to impose or you implement the very technical issue of World Bank guidance, right? This is incorporated sexual conduct, land issue problem, resettlement, gender. This kind of, it is very complicated field. That's I understand if you are still confusing, because like we implemented this safeguard for 6 months, it's still still find our feet to stay on the ground. How we adapt this safeguard mechanism into a Batang Toru or a West Toba landscape that's work with community. That's my answer. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Darmanto. It is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Darmanto. Yeah, the point is, I think the context, we should know more about the context to develop the technical measurement. Okay, next question, please. If you have any question from the Zoom participants, yes, please, you can raise your hand using a raise hand feature. So please, committee, could you help me to identify whether there is question or not? No more question. Okay, in this room, if you have still any question, we still have, I think, we still have a couple of minutes, 5 minutes. If you have any questions. Okay, so if you don't have question, maybe Pak Darmanto, actually it's very interesting to know more about social safeguard. So I personally really interesting to know more about, about the social dynamic at the ground level or at the village level itself. So my team, we have been conducting research in several eastern parts of Indonesia and a lot of indigenous people living there. But we are facing challenges like to involve them to engage in our research because of, there is a political situation in the village level or something like that. So could you have a suggestion or recommendation to deal with that situation, maybe, Pak Darmanto?
I'm not sure I can answer this question, but I think that the one thing that we try with the project in West Toba with Sumatera Orangutan Society and and Atauka is incorporating social scientists. Because like conservation in Indonesia is largely predominantly by biological students or biological graduate and forestry department graduate. So of course they are really having good background, but I think to understand the complexity, the social dynamic, the cultural perspective of local community, I think conservation or forest or forestry project require more social scientists because like as you has observed have observed your research in Eastern Indonesia that somehow we have to deal with the political dynamic at community level because like the kinship relations, but also the power dynamic, the elites, the leaders, and the people who are not really participating in the research also have a lot of tension. And historically, this community, of course, there is a lot of social value that make them tick as society, but at the same time, there is also always tension in the community. That we need to understand. First, that I don't know. This might be case of different with your case in Eastern Indonesia, but I think involving social scientists or anthropologists or ethnographers or any social scientists who understand the local dynamic is one part. The second one is how we could say to understand the because like for example many research and conservation agency I know, not all of you, but some of them came to the village, they see to help people to do something with conservation, for example. But the most important thing is that the first times we set up in a community, that's to listen what people do, what people see. Of course, somehow there is a sensitive issue. For example, in West Toba, that people don't want to be in a forest status, their village. But at the same time, you have to, as a researcher or as a government worker, you have to stick with on the ground. That's you are representative of the state, so you have to persuade them to follow the legal institution that your land belong to the state. So listening to this kind of tension is very important for conservation and for researcher as well. So the other thing that you may be know is because like the place that we conduct research or conservation project is not the place that the first time we do research or we do conservation project. I think that's the community. They have long history of political dynamic and experience with people outside. So somehow we see that we are the first person that helped them. That's our doing research on their place. That's not true because like they already experience encounter with people for maybe 100 years. So to understand this social history is very important. The understanding for oral history, for their thinking, but also the previous research that conducted carried on that place. So that's the only few kind of suggestions that I have now. Maybe later we can discuss. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pak Darmanto. So yeah, I agree with you. So the important role of the, I think, multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary between researchers is important to reveal the case on the ground. So yeah, maybe for conservationists or forester, we need to think about this. So we need to like collaborate more with social scientists, as Pak Darmanto raised earlier. Okay, still have question or from the Zoom participant? Is there any question or no, okay, no question. So please give big applause for Pak Darmanto. Thank you so much for your sharing your great presentation about social safeguard, how we are as a researchers, conservationists to do research and how to engage with the local people at the ground level. It is very important for us to make our project successful in the ground. Okay, so without any further ado, so I think the time is over right now. We're ready to having lunch together, correct? Yeah, for myself, thank you so much for joining us today. Bu Elin, very nice to see you. I think this is the first time we meet in person. Yeah, and for all participants, thank you so much for your time. And I do apologize if during my facilitation I have a lot of mistakes. So see you on the next symposium maybe this year or next year. And thank you so much for the time. Good afternoon and having lunch together. Thank you.
All right, I thank you as well to Dr. Dwi Laraswati for your very nice assistance here. I thank you as well to all speakers, very new insight regarding the stakeholder and also the community involvement in the forestry management itself. But then, because actually we have 3 invited speakers that would like to fulfill the session, so there is a quick announcement from my partner here, Sabila.
Okay, since there is only 2 speakers, we still have time left before our actual lunch break. So if the participants would like to join to the next room, Arjuna 2, the theme is sustainable farming, food security, and wildlife conservation. So if you are interested in this theme, you can join to the next room. If not, we invite you outside for a lunch break. We'll begin the next symposium, starting off with the abstract presentation with the theme Innovation in Biodiversity Conservation Technology session at 1:30. If you are, and we will meet again, that means we will meet again at 1:30. So without further ado, we close this session. Enjoy your break, everyone, and have a lovely lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. If you like to move to the other, please. If you would like to stay here, please as well. And remember that we have to back at 1:30, right? Okay. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.